CBS News presents the royal wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. From the moment they announced their love.
I could barely let you finish proposing. I was like, can I say yes now?
I was like, can I give you the ring? She goes, oh, yes, the ring.
Their fairy tale romance has captivated people around the world. The prince, who grew up before our eyes. And the young California girl turned actress whose dreams of becoming royalty came true today. You're invited to the event of the year, the guests, the traditions, the family, the pageantry, a royal affair fit for a queen, live from Windsor Castle. Hello, I'm Gail King of CBS This Morning. I just have one big goosebump all over my body. Here with you are who?
Kevin Frazier, co-host of Entertainment Tonight. Welcome to Windsor, England, where it's an absolutely perfect day, isn't it? They say that the temperatures will approach 70 degrees,
70
Gail.
degrees. I can't tell you how excited Kevin and I were. I don't know about you, but I really couldn't sleep last night because I knew that this day was coming. I know how excited they are. And, you know, I ain't going to lie, I'm excited too.
Gail, I got to tell you this. It's a fairy tale setting and very different from William and Kate's wedding, which was in London. This is in Windsor, and so we're about an hour away from London. It really gives you the feel of royalty here. Also, the diversity in the crowd. You see so many people from so many different commonwealths and a lot of Americans here, which I think makes it really cool because there's an American marrying into the monarchy.
I'll tell you this. I'm very excited to be here. They were talking to people who were in the crowd yesterday, and they asked somebody who was sitting on the ground, why are you here? You could watch it on the telly. I have to say, I'm very glad you're watching it on the telly. And this woman said, yeah, but you can't get the atmosphere. And she's right about that. The atmosphere, the energy in the crowd is absolutely electric. What did you do last night?
Last night, I walked the route where the carriage will go after the wedding. At night. Because it's beautiful, it's tranquil, but when you get to the top of the long walk and you look down at that castle, it is something that takes your breath away. It is something that you will remember for your entire life. And when Meghan Markle turns that corner, listen, Harry went to school here. His grandmother, this is her castle. But when Meghan Markle turns that corner in that carriage and there are hundreds of thousands of people cheering, it is a moment that we will treasure forever.
We will treasure it. Yeah, what I did last night, too, I didn't do the long walk because it's like 2.6 miles. I didn't do that, but I did, which isn't very far, but I just didn't feel like doing that last night. So what I did was walk up and down the streets, and the people that are camped out, I was asking, because it was cold last night. You actually needed a sweater, a coat, and a couple of blankets. And we saw some girls from California that just said, listen, this will be the last time that I'll get to see a royal wedding that I care about. The next one won't be until baby George. So I don't want to miss this moment, which I thought was kind of cute. I saw a woman who's been here, who's covered every royal wedding, who's been in attendance, and now she's here with her grandchildren. So this is a very big deal. So let's get started with this show because we have lots to discuss over the next 6 hours. Kevin and I will be the ones that will guide you. So let's start with this. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
We are so ready and so psyched. The first of more than 2,600 guests who were invited to be on the castle grounds during the ceremony. They're just starting to arrive. St. George's Chapel will open to the 600 or so official wedding guests. At the bottom of the hour, a car will leave Cliveden House Hotel at 6:15 Eastern to bring Meghan Markle up to the long walk to the castle. And by the way, she spent the night there with her mom. I hear the accommodations are gorgeous. Then the first members of the royal family will arrive.
Yeah, and it is beautiful at Cliveden House.
That.
It is spectacular. We will not see the Prince Harry until about 6:40 a.m. when he and Prince William head to the chapel, possibly on foot. We're told Queen Elizabeth will be driven to the chapel at 6:52 a.m. She will be followed immediately by the bride, which will be a special moment. We will finally see that dress. The service will be led by the Archbishop of Canterbury, and the Dean of Windsor is scheduled to start at 7 Eastern time and will last about an hour. It will be one of those magical hours.
And they've done rehearsal, so they're ready. They've got this thing timed to the T. So shortly after 8 o'clock Eastern time, the bride and groom will begin a 25-minute carriage ride past the crowds here in Windsor, returning via the long walk, that's 2.6 miles, to the castle, where the first wedding reception will begin around 8:30 Eastern time. We've got correspondents, like you wouldn't believe, all over the place throughout the town of Windsor, where more than 100,000 royal fans. Listen, normally this town is about 32,000 people, so imagine a town that goes from 32,000 to 100,000 people that are expected chapter to arrive in the streets. We're going to begin with the one and only Mark Phillips, who knows this country very well. He's on the grounds of Windsor Castle with the new titles just announced for the Prince and his future wife. Mark, you've got a really great location. Hello, hello.
This is a fantastic place and a fantastic day. The Royals are lucky people, and the sun has shone again. I don't know why this always happens, but it always seems to happen. In any event, there's always a bit of business that takes place before the actual weddings take place, and that is that the Queen confers additional titles onto the members, immediately members of the family who are about to get married. We know Prince Harry is Prince Harry, but from this moment on, he has also become the Duke of Sussex and the Earl of Dumbarton and the Baron of Kilkeen. There are always three. There's an English and an Irish and a Scottish title conferred. This is, after all, the United Kingdom, and this one you're going to like. Meghan Markle is not just Meghan Markle anymore. She is now Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. Interesting choice, the Sussex, an old ancient county of England. You'll know that William and Kate are the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. That was expected too. Sussex was long rumored as the county which would be conferred onto Prince Harry and Meghan. It's a title that's been vacant for a couple of hundred years. The last person to hold it a couple of hundred years ago was a man named Frederick. We can call him Frederick the Forgettable, perhaps. He was not a favorite of the court, certainly not in the way that Harry is, and the various members of his family were not entitled, so it died with him. Well, it's been rejuvenated again, and officially the couple will now be introduced as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. So after all of the run-up and the high drama run-up to this, it's finally showtime here, and this is the stage. That there is St. George's Chapel. 500 years of history in its stone and its stained glass, royal weddings, royal baptisms, royal funerals, 10 monarchs buried in there, including probably most famously Henry VIII and one of his wives, Jane Seymour. That tomb Meghan will go over as she walks up the aisle here. Inside, there'll be 600 guests. This is a very different kind of wedding in that it's a much smaller venue than the great cathedrals in London of the Abbey or St. Paul's, which take thousands. This one only holds 600, but the type of guest is different as well. Rather than heads of state, there's just one from Africa. There won't be any great government dignitaries. Instead, there'll be the royals, the usual people you expect to see at this thing, but also many friends and acquaintances and people associated with the couple being married. That's inside the chapel. Behind me over there, you can already see gathered people thinking perhaps they're the luckiest people in the United Kingdom these days. 2,640, I believe, guests have been invited. People from all walks of life, about half of them. Another half of them, people associated with various charities and functions that the Duke and the now Duchess of Sussex will have been associated with. And anyway, this is a very different kind of marriage, and it's a very different kind of ceremony.
I'll say, Mark, I love what you said, that it's showtime, and I know that you covered William and Kate's marriage. How does this compare for you?
Well, you know, William is a future king, third in line to the throne. Harry is now, because of William's children, down at number 6. This is a smaller event, but it's bigger than you often get for minor royals or royals further away from the line of succession. How does it compare? They're all lovely. This one will be lovely in its own way and in quite different ways as well.
All right. It is lovely indeed. Thank you, Mark. After the wedding, Meghan Markle will call Kensington Palace home, but she's waking up this morning at Cliveden House. That's about 6 miles from Windsor Castle. Seth Doan is at the hotel, which is more than 350 years old. Seth, good morning to you.
Good morning. Yes, if it is wild where you are, it is quiet here in Oasis. A pretty good place to spend the night before you marry a prince. You can see down this long driveway here behind me as Cliveden House, a beautiful country estate here in the English countryside. Earlier we saw them spraying down, putting water on this long driveway so they don't have any errant dust or anything go wrong as Meghan drives out of here in just a couple of hours. This is a beautiful estate, kind of Downton Abbey-esque, on hundreds of acres here, overlooking the Thames River, the type of place where you could spend $1,000, $2,000 for a hotel suite if you want. I also checked out the menu. It's about $75 for the Dover sole. Inside here, presumably getting ready now, having breakfast, are Meghan Markle and her mom and their closest friends. We saw Meghan and her mom getting out of that Range Rover last evening after having tea with the Queen, a rather fitting welcome to the UK for Meghan Markle's mom, who of course has made this trip in from California and is staying at this rather beautiful place. Kevin?
Oh, wow. She looks stunning.
Thanks so much.
She looks stunning.
You look at that
Meghan
moment,
and her mom.
and you can only wonder, Gail, what is going through your mind? Because for most Americans who haven't grown up with royalty or the monarchy, it has to be a mind-blowing experience to not only staying at Cliveden House, but knowing you'll be a part of the family that owns this castle behind us.
Yeah, last night I was talking to some people from the palace who said to me, who had been with Meghan earlier in the day, and her mother, and I said, how is she feeling? Is she nervous? Is she excited? They said she is very calm, she is very happy, and she and her mother both had a very zen-like quality to them. I can't imagine, because I'd be like, with your girlfriends, but she's very calm, and they said she's ready. She is ready.
You know, the royal family posted a time-lapse video showing the view Harry and Meghan will have as they ride through Windsor immediately after the ceremony. Even though the route won't have this kind of car traffic, you can see that it's full of narrow streets that will be filled with up to 100,000 well-wishers. It will be amazing. Their carriage trip will include Castle Hill, High Street, and Kings Road. Charlie D'Agata is on Kings Road right now with the massive crowds and very, very tight security. Charlie, good morning.
And we are at Kings Road, kind of the perimeter, and these barriers went up in place a couple of days ago to stop any vehicles from getting anywhere near the procession as the crowds are just gathering. As you said, some of the numbers, there are 32,000 residents in Windsor, 100,000 people are expected. In terms of the hard numbers, the police force, they don't want to give us that, around 3,000 people. That will include plainclothes officers in the crowd, including lots of uniformed officers. They've scoured every inch of this procession route, including the mailboxes. There it is. This has been searched and sealed. What about the residences that line the route? There are hundreds of them that go up to the castle. We were told by the police commander that the police have spoken to all the residents. If they've rented them out, which of course they have, you can imagine why, they've spoken to the people who are renting them. 60,000 people are expected to arrive by train. They are going to face airport security and scanners. There's a no-fly zone for 48 hours. Obviously not for commercial airliners going ahead. But everybody watching this procession will have faced a security screening. Gail?
We split the read? All right. All right, Charlie D'Agata, thank you so much. I can't say enough about how great the police force here is here.
Yes.
You must have experienced it too. I'm told that every police officer on the force is on duty today, as one would expect. But they're so polite to you. Yesterday I saw police officers going up to people who are sleeping and camping out saying, are you all right? We just want you to know we're here for your safety and your comfort. Feel free to reach out if you need anything. And even when a couple of reporters that might have looked like me were standing in the street doing a stand-up, he came and said, ma'am, would you kindly step out of the middle of the street? I mean, they are just so nice and so caring for everybody that's here.
Yeah, I walked up to the castle gate, and as I got close, you know, they still stop, engage you, they talk to you. And, you know, the security guard there just said, excuse me, sir, can I ask your business? And
I like that.
Then when I told him,
what the hell are you doing around?
Right, get out of here.
Which I've heard, So
it makes for a beautiful experience for everyone that comes here and adds to the fairy tale aspect of what's going on. If you are here today, this is a once-in-a-lifetime
I think so, too, and that's why we're here, for the fairy tale. Speaking of fairy tales, Harry and his brother, Prince William, really surprised the crowd yesterday. They've been personally thanking the royal fans in Windsor. And, Kevin, you even got a word in with Harry, I heard. Well, I was a little jealous.
Well, it was kind of cool that they came out to greet everyone, and the princes came out and greeted fans outside of Windsor Castle, and I want you to take a look at this.
Harry, you ready? Are you ready, Harry? Are you ready?
I asked him if he was ready, and Harry said, of course, of course. And he was holding on to a teddy bear given to him by someone in the crowd.
I saw a little child give it to him, and they went to the kids a lot. They went to the kids a lot.
Goes to the kids, and he was so good about it.
Yeah.
You know, you see him bending over. You get on a child's eye level so that it takes away the height and the authority of it all.
It was
so
special. It was very special.
Yeah. Vladimir Duty has also got a moment with Harry and William. He's on Castle Hill. Vlad, good morning. How are you?
Another great location.
Good morning. This is a beautiful location. We're right here on Castle Hill. And Kevin, as you pointed out, we also got a glimpse of Prince Harry and Prince William as they made their way out of the castle right behind me here. And I got to say, as a jaded, cynical reporter, jaded New Yorker, where we're constantly seeing famous people, I thought to myself, well, this is not going to be that big of a deal. I got to tell you, when they came out of those gates, the hair on the back of my neck stood up as they walked right past me. And as Harry went into the crowd, you can hear people just cheering and screaming for them. Harry spoke to some children. He talked to a little girl whose name happened to be Meghan, so a little bond there established with the prince. And then he made his way down the line of well-wishers. He received that teddy bear, Kevin, as you pointed out. And as he made his way back towards the castle, I just shouted out to him, Harry, good luck tomorrow. And he turned and he looked at me and he said, yeah, thanks very much. And I got to tell you, that made my day. Not about me, but it really did make my day.
All right, Vlad.
And the interesting thing is, Vlad and I were right across from each other, and we kept looking at each other kind of like, this is a little surreal.
Yeah,
these guys we've watched all our lives.
Can you believe we're here? Thank you so much, Vlad. We're very happy, to welcome CBS News contributor Tina Brown. You know her. She's author of the Diana Chronicles. She's British and knows a lot about the British things. Welcome, Tina Brown.
So great to be here. What a joyful time.
I feel this, too. So why do you think that people are so fascinated with Harry and Meghan in particular? This feels different to me.
People adore Harry, for a start. He is the next most popular after the Queen, and they feel they own Harry because he's their beloved boy, who's a scamp, who's messed up in life, who's come around, who's just wonderful. And I think that Meghan, you know, she's a Hollywood princess at this point, so it could not be more exciting. It has a very Di Charles, you know, aroma right now. Yeah.
How is this different from Will and Kate's wedding?
Well, Will and Kate's wedding was much more of a sort of state ceremony. It was Westminster Abbey. He is the future king, and there was that little touch of grandeur, big touch of grandeur, if you like it. And you know, Kate Middleton is the future queen, so her dress was, you know, was quite subdued. It was all, they had that edge of a little bit of sobriety about it, even though it was very joyful. This is just all out, just, you know, wonderful jubilance.
One of the main things, there's the dress of William and Kate. That's William and Kate's wedding, and her designer was the McQueen. So everybody believes it will not be Alexander McQueen, the fashion house. What is your bet on who will be designing the dress?
Well,
it's
at this
big
point,
question.
I know. Well, it obviously is between the three, isn't it? It's Stella McCartney or Ralph and Russo or Erdem. And I think the biggest tips right now are Ralph and Russo, but we'll see. I mean, that's very much a kind of a red carpet designer, so we'll see.
I actually don't think it's going to be McQueen because that was a designer Kate used. I also know that it's not going to be Stella McCartney. I know that for a fact. I can say that.
Okay.
But this is the thing. What about David Emanuel, who designed Diana's dress? Do you think that's a possibility?
Not in a million years.
Why?
Well, that dress was wonderful for the moment, but I don't think since it's really had the greatest reviews. I mean, that 25-foot train that was bundled like a big bag of washing into that carriage. I don't think that's cool today.
But Tina, he could do a different design for her. You don't see that as a possibility?
I don't think so. She's not going to go back into Di land. You know, there are a few bad vibes about Di as well as wonderful vibes, right? I mean, if you want to have a happy wedding, it's not exactly the one you'd remember.
But at the time, didn't people think that was a great dress? No?
They did, because they loved her. You know, she was a little girl in a big frothy fairy story dress. You know, it was the dress of a dream fairy princess, which is what Diana was at that moment. She just turned 20.
I think it's going to be Ralph and Russo too, who did the engagement pictures. But I just thought maybe David Emanuel.
That's what I wanted to hear. Who do you think it is?
Yeah.
I never know, and I never guess until those people come out of that car. Until she gets into that car and comes out.
It is the great Hollywood, you know, the Cinderella moment. It's just an incredible moment when she will get out of that car.
It's very fun just to play the guessing game. Tina, thank you. You're going to be with us for the whole 6 hours.
Looking forward to it.
So I hope you got comfy shoes.
I have.
All right, thank you, Tina.
Yeah, we're just getting started with this 6-hour celebration. We'll be here all morning. Ahead, we'll look at Meghan's role in the modern monarchy and how her background is setting a new president with the royal family. You're watching CBS News' live coverage of the royal wedding.
CBS News. Still in the first hour after the ceremony, Harry and Meghan will ride around Windsor in a carriage. It was built in 1883. About half of the trip will be along what's known as the Long Walk. You've been hearing a lot about this Long Walk. Roxana Severi is there to tell us about the journey that brought them together. Roxana, it's so picturesque and so gorgeous. It's a very nice place to take a stroll. Good morning to you.
Good morning, and it is a gorgeous day here, Gail, which people here really appreciate. You know, this love story that we have been witnessing is one that people here have been following closely for months, and one that they wanted to watch up close in person here today. So some folks got out here as early as 3 or 4 a.m. to get a good spot along the procession route. After the wedding service, the carriage carrying the bride and groom will come right by us, take a turn, and then go back north up to Windsor Castle along the Long Walk. And all along that route, there are large screens set up so people can watch the wedding service and the procession live. Many people here tell us they had been rooting for this love story that began about 2 years ago with a blind date. Harry and Meghan said they met through a mutual friend whose name they would not reveal. And on only their third date, they went to Botswana and camped out under the stars. They got engaged last November, and this wedding is bound to break tradition, even just because of who Meghan is, being mixed race. She identifies as a confident, strong, mixed-race woman. Kevin?
Roxanne, thanks so much, and what a great day, and you have a great spot there. We will talk to you a little bit later. We are joined now by Colleen Harris. She was the former press secretary to Prince Harry, William, and also Charles, but she also made a bit of history. She was the first black member of the royal household. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. How excited are you about today?
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. I'm very excited about today. What a wonderfully significant moment for the royal family to welcome Meghan, an actress, a mixed-race actress, a divorcee, and she's older than Harry as well.
She's like nothing, Colleen, the monarchy has seen, is she?
Nothing at all. Although there are rumours that there was a black queen, but that's for another day.
That's for another day.
That's for another time. But she's very different to what the monarchy usually marry into. She's setting quite a precedent, I think.
No, and you were described as the first black member of the royal household. Is that a big deal?
Well, it was a big deal at the time when I joined. I joined the palace after the death, the sad and untimely death of the Princess of Wales.
I see.
And I think probably the start of the palace's sort of rebranding, I suppose, over the coming years. But yes, when I joined, I was the first black member of the royal household.
How have you seen Harry grow up from this rambunctious teenager who was constantly in the tabloids?
The party prince, they called him.
Exactly.
You were there for the party prince years.
Well, he wasn't always the party prince. I mean, you know, when I joined, he was a very young chap, just heading off to Eton. To start
Eton,
there.
which is located in the town of Windsor.
Absolutely,
we saw that.
Very close to where we are today. You know, he was a very cheeky little boy. And you know, did like to play the odd joke or the odd prank.
So how have you seen him grow up? I love that question, Kevin. What have your impressions watching him grow up?
Well, what I've seen is some of it actually. You can look at it two ways. Some of it is a bit sad, I suppose, because he has been grieving for his mother, and I think maybe us in the household, we didn't spot that enough at the time. But what I've seen develop now is this very confident young man who really wants to go out and change the world if he can.
Colleen, while you're talking, we're getting the first pictures inside the chapel this morning. The St. George's Chapel, where Meghan Markle will walk down the aisle at 12 noon today. It's a very historic place. It's gorgeous. I'm sure you've been in this chapel.
I have been there, and it is very historic and very, very significant for the royal family. And I think that this sign of Meghan walking in, especially on her own at the beginning, will be very special.
All right, Colleen Harris, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
We're so happy to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The list of wedding guests is very exclusive. Some of the world's most powerful people did not get invitations. Ahead, we'll show you why the royal family is making an exception for the Prince of Lesotho. Charlie Daggett talked with him. You're watching CBS News live coverage of the royal wedding. We will be here through the morning for you. We'll be right back. Welcome back to CBS News live coverage of the royal wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. I'm Gail King. Kevin Frazier, you know, from Entertainment Tonight. We are partners today.
Yes, we are.
We've got the best location, we think. We're right outside. Look, Kevin, Windsor Castle is right there, right there.
Spectacular.
We are here in Windsor, England. And just moments ago, British Prime Minister Theresa May tweeted this: "My very best wishes to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle on their wedding day. To all of those joining the national celebration with street parties and other events, have a wonderful day." Thank you, Theresa May. Very nice.
So many folks getting on social media this morning. Serena Williams was on Instagram earlier.
Oh, she was?
Yes, she was.
What'd she say?
Getting ready for the wedding.
Oh,
getting ready for
here. Yes, we knew that.
That is why this is probably the hottest ticket on the planet Earth right now. Only about 600 guests will be inside St. George's Chapel and attending the lunchtime reception. Only about 200 will be at the evening reception hosted by Prince Charles at Frogmore House.
Oh, wait, I got something about that.
Tell me about that.
I know that James Corden, who's also coming to the wedding, has been asked to host the evening. So he's going to be in charge of the entertainment, putting the program together tonight for that reception. That's very cool, James Corden.
And it should be a very good night. Mark Phillips is watching this carefully, and selected audience make its way in. He is inside the grounds right now. Mark, any famous faces so far?
Well, they're starting to show up. You may think you have the best perspective. Don't take it personally, but this is the best perspective on the wedding, right outside of St. George's Chapel, where we're now seeing, in fact, the first of the guests to arrive. You don't just rock up at a wedding like this. There's a whole protocol and a whole security thing happening. The guests for the chapel go to an assembly point elsewhere in town. They clear through security themselves. Then they're bussed here to the chapel, where they're now arriving. You mentioned Serena Williams. She tweeted it this morning from her bathroom, apparently wrapped in a towel, that she was preparing to come here. Perhaps a TMI tweet. Some other people you might not know, but who are also coming. Priyanka Chopra, an Indian actress who will come, and you're seeing now, of course, Hollywood royalty, perhaps people almost better known than the Queen. George Clooney and his wife Amal are also on the guest list here. From Suits, also from Showbiz, the entire cast are very close to it, will be here, including Patrick Adams, who is her on-screen husband, famously married in the last episode on screen of that show. And they tweeted a shot, and there they are, at a dinner in London last night. So quite a lot of suits, not wearing suits here in London for this. This is all part of the build-up, the arrival of the guests now. The time's getting close, but this is something that has been going on, in fact, since before dawn this morning.
Dawn over Windsor, and it's tempting to talk of the dawn of a new era, although new eras quickly start to look like old eras where the royals are concerned. Even with the modern variations promised today, there's a tried and tested formula to these things. The truly dedicated have been camping out all night on the streets of Windsor, staking their claim to their patch of freezing sidewalk.
And I'm freezing cold, and my back is sore, and I just want to go to bed.
The groom and best man, Princes Harry and William, made their requisite foray into the crowd yesterday afternoon. It's one of the ways the modern royals try to stay in touch with their admirers, and it works. Meghan Markle and her mother made only a brief appearance at the hotel they're staying at, about 20 minutes away. Doria Ragland met the Queen yesterday and will accompany her daughter to the chapel. And tens of thousands have begun to arrive in the town of Windsor just to be here and to catch a glimpse of the by then married couple as they take a carriage ride through the town after the ceremony before heading back to a reception.
And of course, guests still arriving here. We're also waiting to see. We anticipate that, remember the Spice Girls, some of them will be here. The Beckhams, of course, they will be here as well. Kevin, it's kind of a who's who of friends and associates of Meghan Markle and, of course, Prince Harry, the new Duchess of Sussex.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark, but I must know this. Who's your favorite Spice Girl? Posh Spice? Scary Spice? Who is it?
Sporty. I'm for sure. Always been a sporty guy.
Very good. Very good.
Sporty.
Mark Phillips.
Who's your favorite?
He said sporty.
Soft spot
I like
for ginger.
Posh.
Do you?
Can I
Yes,
put in
and
a soft
ginger.
spot for ginger as well? Yeah.
Jerry
that's
Halliwell.
So good. That's so good. Thank you very much, Mark.
Mark, thanks. By the way, since you were dropping nuggets about James Corden, the one thing you need to know about Gayle King is she is constantly talking to people, whether it's folks on the street or whether it's the biggest stars in the world.
Yes, I'm very inquisitive, Kevin.
Yes, you are.
Very inquisitive.
Okay, what other nuggets can you tell us? Because James Corden, now you just told the world, is host at Frogmore House tonight.
I saw James Corden at an event 2 weeks ago, and I said, I know you guys are going to the wedding. Yes, yes, yes. So are you doing anything? He goes, I'll tell you, Gayle, but you have to promise not to say a word until, it's a very bad British accent, I know. Okay. You must promise not to say a word until the day of. But I've been asked, he said, I've been asked to put together the program for the evening of the 200 guests, the reception, to decide who will do the musical entertainment, if there is such, to decide how much he will speak. He will be the MC of the evening. And I said, are you nervous? He goes, of course I'm nervous. I go, I don't believe you. Because he told me that when he was doing the Tonys and when he was doing the Grammys. And he always knocks it out of the park. And he and Harry have been friends for a while. So
he is fantastic.
He's good. He's good. I also heard this from reliable sources. Some people from the palace I was talking to last night, that all of the guests, no matter where you're staying, so many of them are staying in this town that, like us, had we been invited, we could walk across the street and go. No one is allowed to just walk up to the castle. You have to go to a top secret location. Everybody has to board a bus. I go, everybody? George Clooney is going to be on a bus? Everybody has to board a bus? He goes, everybody has to board a bus, but they don't call it buses, they call it coaches. And they said it'll be a luxury coach. So everybody has to get on the luxury coach, and then they're taken into a different entrance. So we won't see them from this location, but some of the correspondents that are at different locations will see everybody who's going to walk into the church. That's a good little nugget, right?
I'm assuming over the next few hours you're going to tell us more. There are other things that Gayle King is sitting on, and she'll let us know, and we'll learn with you.
I know nothing.
You know, one of Harry's guests has first-hand experience of the charity work that the Prince began in Southern Africa. You might be able to hear one of the bands coming down the street, and the excitement has begun. Well, anyway, their friendship grew out of Harry's commitment to help children in dire conditions. Charlie D'Agata is on Kings Road with the story. Charlie?
Yes, hello, Kevin. Prince Seeiso is the brother of the king of the African nation of Lesotho. Now, way back in 2006, he and Harry set up the Sentabali charity to help some of the most vulnerable children in the world.
Everywhere he goes, I think he bonds a lot faster and a lot quicker with the children.
What is he like with children?
Harry is one big child, basically.
Everyone loves the ginger.
You go to any part of Lesotho where Harry has been, and you get a truthful, honest, and a straight answer. As a child, you know how a child reacts. It's like yes or no. Do you love Harry? We love him. Why? We don't know, but he's just one of us. That's how they react to him.
I love children, and the nicest thing out here is they don't know who I am. I'm just a normal guy to them.
I could see in Harry that here's somebody who wanted to get his hands dirty, if I can say that. He wasn't afraid to pick up a child who was HIV positive. He wasn't afraid to step into and talk to a disabled person who was mentally or physically disabled. So, I mean, in the early days, he was still there. I mean, there in the sense of participating holily. But recently, you can see that he has grown, and his opinions are very informed because he has seen how we have grown in Sentabali.
Looking forward to the wedding?
Oh, it's going to be a glorious day. Everybody is very excited.
The entire kingdom.
Especially the children. They have grown. They've seen him grow. They say, okay, well, I mean, congratulations to him.
He's like family.
Yes, exactly. He's more than family. I mean, like I said, he's a brother.
Have you met Meghan? Well, you couldn't have asked for a better ambassador than Prince Harry. Now, the prince told me that he hasn't met Meghan Markle, but he believes that together they will be an unstoppable force that will have a continued commitment to the charity. Gayle?
All right, thank you very much, Charlie D'Agata.
That is Idris Elba.
Oh, listen.
Look at that.
Okay, look at the guest list that's coming. There's Idris Elba.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Is that Oprah, as in Winfrey? I believe it is.
That is.
Oprah Winfrey arriving to the wedding.
Just another secret to give.
Oh, she looks good, too. She had, could I just say this? Let me go off script for just a second. She had a little bit of a wedding emergency yesterday. She sent me a picture of the dress that she was planning to wear, and it was going to be a cream color, but it came out and it was bright, bright white with lace. And she said, do you think this is too white? And I went, yeah, I do. I think it's too white. So yesterday, she whipped together this dress. She just got this dress yesterday because the one she was intending to wear, she thought was a little too white. So Idris Elba and his fiancée, that's great.
Yes.
And Oprah Winfrey coming in. I don't know who the man is walking in with Oprah.
That's what I was going to ask you. Who is that man walking with Oprah?
I do not know that man with Oprah. But she's staying in London, and she was told that you have to get ready, that you have to leave 3 hours ahead of time. 3 hours ahead of time to get there because of traffic. And she's on time.
And even Oprah rode the bus today.
Yes, yes. Actually, when I said George Clooney has to ride the bus, I go, Oprah has to ride the bus? Oprah is not a bus person. Has she been informed? But it's all good. It's all good. Listen, if you're invited to this wedding, everybody's good. Hey, there's Princess Diana's brother arriving with his wife.
And I think, again, you're starting to see some of the caliber of folks that will be here, and that this will be a very celebrity-heavy wedding. But, you know, it's also a celebration, so you'll see lots of friends and people who've worked with Harry throughout.
Yeah. Well, they wanted it to be a people's celebration, and that's why they invited the word commoners, but they're called commoners, to also participate on the grounds. And it's lovely to see Princess Diana's siblings here today. His sister, or her sister, Lady Fellows, will be doing a reading at the church. Yes. And I'm told that it's very touching. There won't be a dry eye when she is done.
And also the fact that Harry has remained close to them.
Yes.
And that they are important in his life, and those are people that he has leaned on. You know, he went through a very turbulent and tough time when he was just 12 years old.
I can tell you that Oprah is wearing Stella McCartney.
Oh, she is wearing?
Yes.
She
is wearing...
So that's where you got your Stella McCartney scoop from.
That's why when you said that Megan... no, when Tina Brown said that maybe it'll be Stella McCartney, I was prepared to bet on my first and second-born child that she is not going to be wearing Stella McCartney. But I did know that Oprah was wearing Stella McCartney. So she sent out... Look at Oprah's hat, too.
Yes.
She sent out the SOS to Stella, and they whipped this up. So it's very, very lovely. That's great.
It's beautiful, and Stella took care of Oprah. And, you know, you wonder as you walk in there, even for someone like Oprah, it never gets old, and you're never...
No, it doesn't.
You're never jaded about going in for a royal wedding.
No. She is very excited to be there. You know, we actually have a guest here. I'm sorry, Penny Junior. I got so excited seeing the guest list coming, and there is Oprah and Idris Elba. But Penny Junior, you should know, is a CBS News contributor and royal biographer. By the way, she's the author of Prince Harry, Brother, Soldier, Son. Penny, good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Are you as excited as we are today about this day? Because I know you know this family very well.
I do, quite well. I've written about most of them.
Yes.
But I mean, a day like today with these crowds, it's just, you'd have to be a real misery guts not to be excited.
A misery guts, that's what you'd have to be, and no misery guts allowed. But the last time an American married into the royal family, it almost brought the monarchy down. So
it absolutely did.
How do you think divorce has changed in those years since?
Well, I mean...
An American divorce, we should say.
Well, when the Queen came to the throne, I mean, it was her uncle that nearly brought about this crisis in the it was a real serious constitutional crisis. Monarchies were falling.
Why?
Well, because divorce was a taboo subject at that time, and monarchies after the war, after the Second World War, were falling like ninepins all over Europe, and Britain's monarchy was still firm. But then Edward VIII decided that he preferred love. He wanted his to marry Wallace Simpson.
I love how he said,
than...
for the woman I love,
Well, you know, very lovely, but actually these people are born with a golden spoon in their mouth, but they actually have real responsibilities. You know, this is not a walk in the park, what they do. And it is a very important part in British life.
But Prince Charles is divorced, Prince Andrew is divorced.
Precisely. I mean, when the Queen came to the throne, divorcees were not welcomed at court.
I see.
They couldn't go to Royal Ascot, to the Royal Enclosure. It was a really taboo thing. And as you say, I mean, well, her sister got divorced from Lord Snowden. 3 of her 4 children are divorced. Then Prince Charles, of course, famously, 11 years ago, in this very town, married a divorcee.
Camilla, so it's no longer a taint on you.
It's no longer, no. But you know, the royal family is always a little bit behind society.
Are they?
Yep.
And they should never, I mean, according to the constitutional experts, they should never lead society, but they should never be far behind it. And I think this is just typical.
You are a big fan of the show Suits. So how ecstatic were you when you found out that Meghan was the girl?
I was in love with Meghan before Harry ever met her.
Yes.
And a few others on the program.
Yes.
No, I mean, I just think it was fantastic when, you know, I was immediately on her side.
Were you?
I thought it was an amazing, I could absolutely see his attraction to her. You know, I mean, I know she's an actress, but I think everything that I've read about her, she's a very bright girl.
Yes, she is. I feel that too. And I think she's a wonderful addition to the monarchy. As do you?
I absolutely do. And I love the fact that she's mixed race.
I do too. Don't we, Kevin, love that part?
It is about time to move forward.
Yes,
definitely.
Thank you, Penny Junor, for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Wedding guests, as you see, are continuing to arrive at Windsor Castle for the ceremony ahead. We'll show you more of the high-profile arrivals. You're watching CBS News Live coverage of the royal wedding. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to CBS News, live coverage of the royal wedding. You know, we have finished the Gayle King part of the friends and family arrival. Let's go right back inside to Mark Phillips and see if any more of Gayle's people have gotten here. Mark, you're keeping an eye on things.
Are my people there? Yes.
Yeah, maybe, Gayle, why don't you just take this? You know, if you know who else is coming, Gayle, just tell us now and save us all the mystery, will you? Anyway, yes, of course, we saw Oprah's arrival, a well-kept secret except for one of us. Also, after Oprah had arrived, we saw the British actor, who's also, of course, was a big star in The Wire. Idris Elba came in along with Oprah. On the family side, on the royal family side, we saw Earl Spencer, Diana's brother, come in as well. His wife, Sarah McCorkadale, will give one of the readings during the service. We're expecting others as well, expecting two more of her siblings to attend, Lady Jaden Fellows, and as we mentioned, Sarah McCorkadale, along with Earl Spencer from that side of the family. Who we haven't seen yet, but we're anticipating will arrive. Elton John is the name. Elton John is a name that's been thrown around. David and Victoria Beckham, I think I mentioned a bit earlier, they're very much expected. You mentioned James Corden, he's expected here as well. What's interesting about this wedding to me, James Blunt, of course, the singer, is expected as well. What's interesting here, one way that this wedding is really different than any of the other royal weddings I've seen is we're standing here talking about celebrities from showbiz, from the world of music, from the world of sports. Normally at these events, you're talking about the Earl of this and that, and Lady this and that, and Prince such and such, and the President of such and such. It's a very official party, particularly at the wedding ceremony itself. Ironically, even though this is in a smaller venue, just 600 guests in the chapel, as distinct from the 1,500 or so that you get at Westminster Abbey, or the 2,500 that you get at St. Paul's, these people we actually know better because they're people from popular culture. Gayle?
All right, thank you very much, Mark. We just saw James Blunt go, and he does that song, "You're Beautiful." That's all I'm going to sing of that, because I can't hit that note. But it's great to see him. He's a military man as well. Windsor Castle is not only beautiful, it's nearly 1,000 years old. She looks good, that Windsor Castle. We recently got a look around the home to 39 monarchs. Historian Anna Kay is director of the Landmark Trust, and she joins us here on the balcony at the Heart and Garden. So good to have you, Anna. But tell us about this lovely castle and the significance of it. I know it's the oldest and longest inhabited castle.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the thing about Windsor Castle is that it's the real deal. I mean, it's 1,000 years old. 1,000 years old. It's quite hard to get your head around the time depth we're talking about. So when William the Conqueror, who's the Frenchman who captured England in 1066, arrived, he built castles all over England to stake his authority, and Windsor was one of them. So first of all, it's a place of tremendous history, and it represents the continuity of the English monarchy over 10 centuries, which is pretty eye-watering, really. But it's still a family home, so it has this lovely dual character, I suppose.
No, they even say not only is it the family home, that this is what the Queen really considers her home. And we know when she's here, when the flag is up. And I saw people that live in Windsor that said it's not unusual to see the Queen tootling around town in her car, because this is what she considers her home. Buckingham Palace is her office. You agree?
Yeah, exactly. And so it's a lovely thing, because in other situations and in other monarchies, the big old castles have been abandoned and they've moved into kind of, you know, convenient modern residences. And it's a wonderful thing. It's a really wonderful thing that hasn't happened here.
Cue up the band.
Yeah, the band is playing behind us, and the crowds are growing. I want to ask you, Harry was baptized in St. George's Chapel. What does this place mean to him? Because he went to school just down the hill at Eton.
Well, quite. I mean, this is absolutely his home territory. I mean, he will have, you know, roamed the acres around here, both as a schoolboy and, you know, as visiting his grandparents. So it's his sort of ancestral home, but it's also his, you know, his granny's house, and he feels about it, I imagine, personally, as any of us might feel about our grandparents' house, which is representing something about love and continuity, and it's been a constant in his life. So I imagine it's a wonderful thing for him personally, as well as sort of as a prince to be here.
I also want to ask, who owns the castle? Because in America we always wonder, does the Queen, is this her? Is this her house?
Well, so the way it's described is the Queen owns it, but she owns it in right of crown. And it's the same as the crown jewels, which means she can't sell it. It belongs to her because she's Queen, and when somebody else is sovereign, it will belong to them.
All right, Anna Kay, thank you so much. I imagine you're going to go and enjoy the day with everyone else here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming from London to join us. We really appreciate it. The royal wedding is expected. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, it is the Irish Guard playing behind it. I wanted to give them a shout out because they've excited the crowd, and they will entertain the crowd while we're waiting for the wedding.
It's good to know where the music's coming from. It's great. The wedding is expected to boost Britain's economy by more than $1 billion, from Prince Harry and Meghan dolls to coffee cups. I brought some of those.
That's what I say. What have you gotten so far?
I brought some of those. My nephew Cameron said, please bring me back a mug, Aunt Gail. I got it, Cameron. From merchants around the world who are cashing in. Jonathan Bigliotti is on the street here in Windsor, where large crowds have gathered for the last couple of days. Jonathan, I see you. Good morning.
Right down there.
Hey, good morning. I see you guys too. The royals do weddings like Hollywood makes movies. And what better way to introduce this than with the marching band behind us? We've got a lot of people around us, some new friends, including Americans right here who camped out overnight so they could get the best seat in town. They are among an estimated 500,000 people from all over the world that have come to the UK in the past few weeks and days leading up to this ceremony. And of course, who could forget about all the merchandise and the merchants that are cashing in? We're talking everything from all these American and British flags to everything else from teacups to t-shirts. At the end of the day, economists who do and crunch all of these numbers estimate, as you had mentioned, this one day could lead up to about $1 billion in sales. An incredible amount of money. All eyes here on this wedding. Back to you guys.
Well, I've spent $100, so that's pretty good.
So far.
Yes, so far. Thank you, Jonathan. One of today's most closely guarded secrets is what dress Meghan will wear down the aisle.
Well, hold on, Gail.
Yes.
You have already eliminated one of the favorites.
So Stella McCartney.
Right?
I knew it wouldn't be Stella because she was dressing Oprah. Ahead, the designer many believe she picked and what we know about Meghan's personal style. You're watching CBS this morning. I'm thinking it's going to be Ralph and Russo, the couple that did her engagement, or I say maybe David Emmanuel, who did Princess Diana. We'll see. We'll be right back.
I can do more to lower my A1C.
And I can do it with
little.
This is my third royal wedding. It'll be so nice to see them together as man and wife.
With so many awful things going on in the world, I just thought something as lovely as this, and it's only down the road, got to make the effort.
I'm here for that 10 seconds when that coach goes around the corner. Yeah, it'll be well worth it.
On this royal wedding day, you'll find us all doing the Windsor Walk. Hey!
See, they are feeling no pain. They've been out late, too. Welcome back to Windsor. I'm Gail King of CBS This Morning, overlooking this packed English town.
And I'm Kevin Frazier, co-host of Entertainment Tonight. What a spectacular day it's been already. And if you're just joining us now, then you've got to get on the ball, because Gail King is already on her second half.
Yes.
Oprah is already here, and Idris Elba is also in there.
Yes, we are ready to go.
Join the party.
Well, this is the thing I was thinking. We're going to be on the air live for 6 hours, and I thought I want to channel my inner Beyonce. That's about all I can do, is do a hat when it comes to hitting Queen Bee. So I'm going to change hats every hour on the hour. And I was thinking, if I had been invited to the wedding, which I was not, no bitterness, this is a dress I would wear. Do you approve?
I love
Yellow's
the dress.
my favorite color. I always wear yellow for something that just makes me happy.
You are as spectacular as the day here, and as spectacular as that castle behind us.
Kevin.
It's a great day, and as you can see,
too.
people are beginning to arrive, and a lot of famous faces coming in those doors.
Yes, so far that we've seen Oprah, we've seen Idris Elba, we've told you saw Serena Williams on Instagram.
She was on Instagram.
That she's coming too. And we're now about 2 hours away from the much anticipated wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. An estimated 100,000 people will crowd the streets here to celebrate. About 600 made the cut to witness the wedding in person, and they've just started to arrive at Windsor Castle, which, by the way, is directly across the street from us.
Yes, I mean, it almost feels like we could touch it, and I want to give you a quick timeline of what we anticipate in terms of wedding arrivals. We expect Meghan to leave Cliveden House Hotel in just over an hour, around 6:15 Eastern Time, and make her way to St. George's Chapel. Members of the royal family are scheduled to arrive at 6:25 a.m. and shortly after, at 6:40 a.m., we'll see Prince Harry. I'm sure there are butterflies in his stomach.
I think so too.
And he'll be with his best friend, his best man, and his brother, Prince William. They will make their way to the chapel. Now, Harry's father and stepmother, Prince Charles and Camilla, will come next, followed shortly after by Doria Ragland, the mother of the bride. We will see this woman who traveled all the way from Los Angeles to be here with her daughter.
Yes, they spent the night together.
Yes.
Their last night as a single woman with her mother last night. Queen Elizabeth, she will be the last one to arrive at St. George's Chapel just before the bride herself. The service begins at 7 a.m. Eastern, is scheduled to last about an hour, and I'm told the Queen will get in 2 minutes before the service, and then Meghan Markle will take her walk down the aisle about a minute in. I mean, they really have this thing timed to the T. We've got CBS News correspondents, as you might expect, spread throughout the town of Windsor to bring you all the majesty of the day, and we're going to start this hour with Mark Phillips, who's outside St. George's Chapel. Mark, good morning again.
Good morning. Well, we've been talking up until now about how different the guest list looks for this kind of wedding, but in 2 hours' time when that ceremony begins, it's going to look quite different from normal traditional royal weddings as well. There'll be a lot of tradition in it. There'll be the hymns, there'll be the prayers, there'll be the blessings, there'll be the exchange of vows, of course, but there will also be a distinct American element in the ceremony as well, including in the music, and particularly including in the people giving the service. The service will be led by the local prelate here at the chapel. The Archbishop of Canterbury will in fact marry, Justin Welby will in fact marry the couple and do the exchange of vows, but the sermon may well be the highlight of this ceremony, because it's going to be given by the American Episcopalian Bishop Michael Curry, who has a style that this place was probably never heard the likes of. And I had a really interesting opportunity to sit down with both of them yesterday, and this is what they had to say.
For you, Bishop Curry, is there something special for you to participate in an event like this? Do you see it as inclusive in that respect, that someone like you from the American Church, the American Episcopal Church, being here in the heart of the Church of England country, does that make any kind of a difference to you?
Well, to be sure, the Church of England is the mother church, and so it's always to be good in Mama's house.
I can't believe you just said that. I really can't believe you just said that. I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Do you see yourself, Bishop Curry, as bringing that kind of style, that kind of American preacher style to the wedding?
I have no idea. I'm just going to show up.
Come on, you're going to
I'll never forget my daddy told me when I was fairly new as a priest, he said, just always be who you really are. Don't pretend to be somebody else. And
so a very different kind of sermon anticipated here, certainly different from the style that we've heard here in the past, and it'll be followed by a very different kind of music. The old classic Stand By Me will be played as soon as Bishop Curry has finished his sermon. So we have that to look forward to in what, a little under 2 hours from now. Kevin?
All right, and we will be right here. Thank you, Mark. I love how it says a non-traditional version of Stand By Me. That's code for gospel. It's going to be a gospel version of Stand By Me, which I love that song. Yeah. I think it's beautiful that it's going to be played at their wedding, Stand By Me.
And it's another one of the American touches that are being added to this ceremony that will make it special and very different.
Which is exactly what they wanted it to be. Meghan Markle, as you know, she's getting ready for her big day with her mother at the Corden House Hotel. I hear it's very lovely. It's about 6 miles from Windsor Castle. She is expected to begin making her way to St. George's Chapel in about an hour from now. Seth Doane is outside Corden House, so he will be one of the first people to see Meghan with those preparations. And Prince Harry's plans. Seth has got that part of the story. Good morning to you, Seth.
That's right. Good morning to you, Gail. Yes, we'll be among the very first to see her as she drives down this very long driveway here from the Corden House. If you're going to marry a prince, this is a pretty nice place to spend the night before. This is a lovely English countryside, a manor here and hundreds of acres in the English countryside here. They've been putting the finishing touches, presumably both inside, getting ready, and also outside on the grounds. We saw them spraying down this long front driveway here, making sure there is no errant dust. Don't want to get in the way of these beautiful photo opportunities today. This is the type of place where Winston Churchill has been a guest, where Charlie Chaplin has been a guest. There's a storied history here on these hundreds of acres, and inside we know that some of the closest friends of Meghan Markle are gathered. We saw Meghan and her mom get out of that car yesterday afternoon after a very civilized English afternoon tea with the Queen. She said that things were wonderful. She was feeling quite good, and she did indeed, Gail, look quite relaxed.
Yeah, she does look very relaxed, Seth, and she looks gorgeous just walking in. This is her casual look, just walking with her mom. Her mom, Doria, looks awesome, too. Imagine how the two of them are feeling, but I hear they're both very zen and both feeling very good about this day. And this is what happiness looks like, Kevin.
Yes, we were told it was a very emotional reunion when Doria finally arrived here. And, you know, Meghan was in the middle of all the madness with her father, and her mother came here. It's a calming influence, and it just changes everything.
And yesterday, her mom met the Queen. They had tea. I was talking to palace people yesterday. What was that like? They said it was very, very charming. Everyone got along, and they said, quite well, quite well. Yeah. It's very nice. Imagine what it's like meeting the Queen.
Yeah, it's interesting because we were told that the Queen goes out of her way to make people feel at ease when she first meets them, and this is a woman that she will probably see many more times in the future.
Yes, I think so. They're part of the family. Once Meghan Markle arrives at the Chapel of the World, we'll find out what she is wearing. Who did she say yes to the dress about? That's the big question. One of the big questions today. The royal wedding dress, as you know, is a closely guarded secret. Princess Diana wore a dress designed by David and Elizabeth Emanuel at her 1981 wedding. I'm thinking, could she possibly choose that designer, not that dress, but that designer. It featured 10,000 pearls and a lengthy 25-foot train. Kate Middleton wore a sleeker dress at her wedding back in 2011. Sarah Burton at the fashion house Alexander McQueen designed that gown. Fashion experts raved about its classic yet modern design.
And you remember, you know, one thing, Gail, is that with both those dresses, we talk about the trains.
Yes.
When they both pulled up, when Diana pulled up and that train went on forever, you were like, is it going to end? And then remembering Pippa holding the train for her sister.
And Pippa got a lot of attention because everyone was raving about her bottom, and I thought, is that a big bottom? I don't think so. But she got a lot of attention for her bottom that people thought was perfection. Guess that's a matter of opinion. I've seen some big bottoms. I didn't think that was one, but okay.
I'm going to leave that alone, Gail. I'm going to leave that one alone.
Okay. Moving on. Roxana Samiri's at the Long Walk in Windsor with speculation surrounding this year's dress. Plus, she's got new information that's just in about the wedding rings. Roxana, what do you know?
Well, what we know, Gail and Kevin, is that the wedding ring for the bride has been gifted by the Queen. It's made of Welsh gold, as according to royal tradition, and the groom's ring is platinum band. They will be delivered to the chapel by the best man, Prince Harry's big brother, Prince William. And the company that made these rings is also the company that made Meghan's engagement ring, which was designed by Prince Harry. It is the British company Cleve & Company. Now, talking about the dress, yes, there's a lot of speculation. One of the big front runners is Ralph & Russo, which is the British brand behind the dress that Meghan wore for her official engagement photos. Other front runners, which I heard you mention earlier, Gail, Stella McCartney, Alexander McQueen, whoever it's going to be is going to gain a lot of publicity and prestige. As Meghan walks toward the chapel, Kensington Palace has said it will drop the details about the dress, her accessories, her hair, and her makeup. There's also the question of what will Prince Harry wear? Will he wear a military uniform? Well, if he does, which uniform? Because he belongs to different services. He is the ceremonial head of the Royal Marines. He's also an officer in the Army. But if he wears a uniform, according to tradition, he should not have a beard. We all know Meghan fell in love with a man who has a beard. And then, what will the guests wear? Well, according to the invitations that were sent out, men are supposed to be wearing uniforms, morning coats, or lounge suits, otherwise known as business suits. Women are supposed to wear hats and day dresses. You can imagine, Kevin, we'll probably see some fancy fascinators.
Lounge suit.
Roxana, thanks so much. And, you know, going back to that beard for a second, Gail, you had a beard bet with Nora.
Nora and I have a bet. Yes.
And you believe that you wear the beard.
Last night, Nora texted me, and she said, I think I'm going to lose a bet because she thinks that the beard is going to have to go. I say the beard is going to have to stay. And we bet $500 that whoever loses, the money will go to charity. And Nora texted me late last night, and she said, I think I'm going to lose this bet, but I think we should up the ante to charity. And so she's upped it up to $1,000. So $1,000 is now the bet. It's gone from $500 to $1,000. I actually think, Nora O'Donnell, if you're watching, I think I'm going to win this bet. We'll see. But I'm hearing more and more people say if he wears a uniform, he'll have to shave the beard. I don't know. We'll see.
But she's only known the man with a beard. That's who she fell in love with.
That's right.
We continue to watch Harry's guests arriving. Just a moment ago, Chelsea Davy, his former girlfriend, who is one of his exes that'll be here. She just arrived.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm thinking, there she is. You've got to be on really good terms. That must have ended okay. So, if you can invite your ex-girlfriend and your future wife is okay with it. That's pretty good.
So many of the women, especially Chelsea, that he dated couldn't deal with all the scrutiny that comes with being a part of the monarchy and the royal family, and that is one of the things that led to the demise of their relationship. Someone who knows a lot more about that, contributor Tina Brown, is author of the Diana Chronicles. She joins us now with Ingrid Seward, editor of Majesty Magazine and author of several books on the royal family. Good morning. And Tina, I want to ask you right now, you see Harry inviting his exes. We are told that Cressida will also be here, another one of his girlfriends.
Another one of his girlfriends, yeah.
What do you make of that?
Well, for a start, I think it speaks very well of Harry that he's on such good terms with all his ex-girlfriends. That's kind of wonderful. Also speaks well of Meghan that she didn't object. So this is a good beginning to a marriage. It talks about trust, lack of jealousy about the past, which I do love. They will have, I'm sure, a certain rueful feeling as they watch her float down the aisle. Because,
the exes.
Yes, because at the end of the day, I think each of them found the scrutiny so hard. But there is that magic moment.
Well, here's what I want to ask you, because they said that Camilla had a hand in choosing Diana, or at least guiding Charles with Diana. So there's a difference here, though.
There's a complete difference. I mean, Diana was the last kind of arranged marriage, if you like, of the royal family.
There's Chelsea. We're looking at Chelsea now, yes.
She's absolutely gorgeous in her own right, actually. What a marvelously vivacious blonde. A tremendous fun partner for Harry in the early days of his life. We went to Africa, and they had a wonderful time in Africa together. I think that the great difference, of course, is that Meghan is chosen by him, love of his life. No one has been involved in godmothering or godfathering this relationship. This is Harry's own choice of his heart.
I know, Ingrid, that you're with us too. I'd love to hear your comments about Chelsea and Cressida being invited to the wedding. It's not often that couples are okay with their exes coming to the wedding on either side.
No, I think Chelsea is there actually with her brother Sean. I think if you look at them, they look very similar, and he's a great friend of Harry's. That's when they all met together in Cape Town. I know Cressida's coming, and she's coming with Princess Beatrice and Eugenie, but not with her current boyfriend, who's also called Harry. So I think because you're so isolated in that royal world, you're inclined to hold on to your old friends because you trust them more than anything else. It's this lack of trust that both Harry and William have. That's why their circle of friends is so small.
And also, of course, Prince Charles stayed very good friends with many of his ex-girlfriends, too. You know, Lady Jane Wellesley, for instance, enormous friend of his who stayed a great friend of his for many years. So they like to keep them in the inside circle, as Ingrid said.
Let's talk about the kids real quick that will be involved in this, because that is also an exciting part of the wedding. Princess Charlotte and Prince George will have a part in this. What will it be like for the kids today?
Oh, it looks like Pippa's just arrived.
Pippa Middleton and her husband.
Pippa's a newlywed too, so Pippa's arriving with her husband.
And that's Kate's brother.
And the brother James Middleton has just arrived too.
And Pippa is pregnant, right?
She's pregnant, but also Pippa, of course, had her great moment at Kate's wedding when she had that dress that everybody commented.
Before you came in, Tina, we were saying people were talking about the bottom, and I'm thinking that's an idea of a big bottom in Britain, I guess. Because we were looking at it in America and going, but okay, but that did turn into quite a moment.
The bottom became a cause celeb. No doubt about it. The derriere cream.
There's Kate's parents who are just arriving.
You know, I will say the Middleton parents have been amazing with Kate. I mean, they have been the absolute gold standard of parents for
And they seem to have
brides.
gotten along very well with the monarchy. But let's go back to the wedding party. By British tradition, you don't have bridesmaids. Children under the age of 11 are participating in the wedding. We have Meghan's godchildren, close friends of her best friends.
The Mulrooney children.
The Mulrooney children are participating. And then, of course, George and Charlotte. I understand that there are 10 children who are going to be participating. Do you think they will steal the show?
I think they will definitely.
Oh, sorry, Ingrid. Sorry.
No, I mean, you know, of course, it was a child that stole the show last time, right? Remember Grace Van Cutsum, who was actually a cousin of the Van Cutsum child this time, when she stood on the balcony at William and Kate's wedding and put her hands over her ears like this, and everybody went with that picture. So kids do have a habit of stealing the show.
Yeah, Ingrid, you think they'll steal the show?
I'm certain they'll steal the show, like Prince William did at Fergie's wedding. And the littlest bridesmaid is the granddaughter of the Queen's racing manager. And she's only 2 years old, so I suspect that she'll be sitting down or sitting on a nanny's knee for most of the ceremony.
A nanny's knee is a good place to be. Thank you very much, Ingrid Seward. Always good to have you. Tina Brown, you're sticking around. We will see you. We've got more to come.
Pippa glowing. Look at that.
That's what happens when you get pregnant. Lots of women glow.
I mean, these Middleton girls, though, are such beauties, aren't they?
Yes, very beautiful. Harry and Meghan will celebrate the memory of Princess Diana during their very special day. Coming up next, we'll show you how Prince Harry's late mom will be remembered and honored. You're watching CBS News live coverage of the royal wedding. More to come.
Prince Harry's mother, Princess Diana, walked down the aisle of St. Paul's Cathedral to marry Prince Charles in 1981. Harry and Meghan will pay tribute to her at the wedding today. All three of Diana's siblings will be in attendance. One of her sisters, Lady Jane Fellows, will give a reading during the ceremony. Princess Diana's influence can even be found in the engagement ring, which was designed by Harry. The ring features 2 outside diamonds from his mother's personal collection.
Back with us now is Colleen Harris. She's former press secretary to Princes Harry, William, and Charles, and she is the first black member of the royal household, royal author, and the editor of Majesty magazine. Ingrid Seward is also with us as we continue our coverage. Colleen, I want to start with you because in the last hour you were saying you joined the household in 1998 as the first black member, and that was considered a really big deal, you pointed out.
Yes, it was. They'd never had a black member of the royal household before, so it was a massive story to have me there. I was surrounded by media coverage at the time, so I know something of what Thomas Markle was going through over the last few weeks.
So Diana died in 1997, so you arrived a year after she passed away, and very untimely and unexpectedly. But you certainly must have heard household stories on how she influenced her sons.
Yes, I did, actually. When I joined the household, there was a great sadness about the loss of Diana. They all really loved her in the household. And I could see from William and Harry, actually, that she'd had a profound influence on their upbringing. There was a real kind of joyful side to them, very a bit kind of cheeky and naughty, but there was also a lot of empathy, particularly from Harry, actually. It's something I noticed over the years, that if I got into a tricky situation, it would often be Harry would be the one that would understand and try to say something sympathetic to me, you know, other than other people.
I want to ask a quick question to Ingrid, and it has to do with hugs and the royal protocol for hugs, because we've seen Meghan go out and hug people during her first appearance. She hugged some of the people she talked to, and also that Harry has never been anybody to shy away from folks. Will that change now? Because I know that in the past there's been a furor when someone has hugged the Queen or even hugged Kate Middleton like LeBron James did.
I think Diana really was the forerunner of royal hugging, because and she was the...
That's good, Ingrid, royal hugging.
Royal hugging. And I remember Diana telling me that when she was a little girl, her school teacher taught her to always kneel down with kids and old people, get on their level. And I think that Harry and William have absolutely taken this. They've copied their mother's way of dealing with people, and it's really noticeable. And
that was something we saw yesterday with Harry bending over to talk to a little girl. And it's funny because you could see in the little girl's face, she was like, I can't talk right now because it's Prince Harry in front of me. But it was amazing how calm he was with her.
Yes, they're very tactile, aren't they? They're younger royals. And yes, we did see that yesterday very much.
Yeah, they did seem to gravitate to the children. And it's interesting because Harry told Nora O'Donnell, who's our co-host back in the States, that he hopes one day to have children. What kind of father do you think he will be?
Well, this is going to be interesting, isn't it? Because this is going to be another game changer, I think, because they're going to have mixed race children.
And you have
royal
mixed race children.
And I have mixed race children myself. So I think it's something that you do have to think about, because they don't want to take on one culture over another culture in the family.
Meanwhile,
George and Amal have just
arrived.
Oh, my goodness. Kevin, look at her dress. Ingrid, look at Amal's dress. And George color-coding with the yellow, the mustard color. Very nice.
Absolutely stunning.
You know, Amal, who is a woman who has a career and was able to balance that career along with the fame that came along with being the wife of George Clooney and Hollywood royalty. It's great to see them here because they've chose to live here.
And then,
you know, and it's interesting with David Beckham and Victoria Beckham. David Beckham, today's the FA Cup, his beloved Manchester United playing while David
this is a big soccer game, too.
Yes.
Colleen Harris, Ingrid Seward, we thank you so much.
Thank you.
But you know it's not over. We will call on you a little bit later. You were looking at live pictures of Cliveden House. That's near Windsor as we wait for the departure of Meghan Markle. That's coming up in the next hour. We will talk about Meghan's unlikely path to this very special day. You're watching CBS News live coverage of the wedding.
This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by Keurig. Brew the love.
just saw the arrival of George and Amal Clooney. I have to say there was a little bit of a gasp when we saw Amal in this gorgeous mustard yellow dress with a perfectly matched hat. I already want to know whose dress is that, Amal, but that's not the main question of the day.
And she's a fashionista, though.
Yeah,
you know,
she looks awesome. George looks dapper, too.
Yes, but when have you ever seen her look bad? Never.
And there are the Beckhams, Victoria and David Beckham, also arriving. We already know they're good friends of Harry's.
Yes. Mark Phillips, meanwhile, is outside of St. George's Chapel, looking ahead to the bride, Meghan Markle's arrival. Mark, good morning.
Oh, there's Alexa.
Well, good morning. Well, we've already seen just what kind of a different wedding this is. The guest you just mentioned coming in as well, very different from what we tend to see at events like this over the years. And I really think it might be time just to talk a little bit about the influence that Meghan Markle will have on this royal family. I think she may be the freshest breath of air to blow through it since Diana, quite frankly. Diana, when she joined the family, young though she was, an aristocrat though she was, a function perhaps of the breakdown of her relationship with Prince Charles at the time, became a terrific reforming influence in the family with all the causes she adopted, AIDS, landmines, that kind of thing. Her involvement as a mother with her young son, something we hadn't seen amongst royals before. And of course, the public reaction when she died that night in Paris and for the several weeks thereafter really changed the nature of the royals from that point on. They became not quite touchy-feely, but much more accessible emotionally, particularly in terms of her two sons, William and Harry. In Meghan Markle, someone who's coming in, who's already mature, who already has issues with which she associates herself, who has had a career, who is her own woman. And Meghan Markle, even before this wedding, had become the star of the family. If Harry was the most popular royal, as all the polls say, it's Meghan Markle's picture on magazines that sells them around this country and in fact around the world. And I think she is going to be in many ways the face of this family going forward.
They have the same hairdresser.
All right.
She introduced them.
All right, Mark, thank you very much. We're still, of course, watching the arrivals. I just saw Alexei Lubomirsky on the side of the screen. If we show him again, I'll break in and show you who he is. He is the one that got the assignment for the official wedding portrait. He took the engagement photos, and then they called him again to do the official wedding portrait. I talked to him yesterday. We'll talk about that conversation a little bit later on.
Yeah, now the wedding is preventing Prince William from carrying out one of his fun duties today. William has been the president of England's Football Association since 2006. That's soccer for folks back in the U.S. He usually attends the FA Cup Championship soccer match every year to hand out the medals to the winners. Think of it as like our Super Bowl.
Yes,
it is a big, big deal. And Manchester United, David Beckham, a Manchester United great here at the wedding. And Chelsea will play for the trophy later today in London. It's about 15 miles from Windsor, but Kensington Palace says Prince William will not abandon his brother.
No,
he will stick and stay.
I wouldn't think that he would, but he's one of the officials of the games. And when I came in through customs, one of the guys said to me, "You guys are making a big deal about this wedding, but the really big story is the FA Championship." I go, "I don't think it's bigger than the wedding." He goes, "Watch and see what William does." This guy at customs, who don't know nothing about nothing, said that William will be here at the wedding and then he will go to the football game. We'll see.
Well, he's going to stay, but I bet you they'll have a TV. They'll have a TV on.
They will have a TV at the reception.
You know that.
Prince Harry served as the best man for his brother's wedding back in 2011, and today the roles are reversed. The world has watched these two princes grow up in both joyful and somber times. Vladimir Dudier is on Castle Hill with their very unique relationship. Vlad, I think it's cool to have a best friend, and the best friend is your best brother too. It's kind of nice.
It is indeed, Gail. In fact, you mentioned something that was really interesting. If you recall back in 2011 when Prince William was getting married, Harry was at the altar there and he whispered something in his brother's ear. We don't know what was said, but clearly that bond that you speak of is one that is very, very strong. It goes back, of course, to their shared grief over their mother's passing. We all remember, Gail, you've talked about it several times, the two little boys walking behind their mother's casket, united in their grief and united in the way that they want to present themselves to the world as chummy brothers. In fact, you've never never really seen this. If you think of all the siblings, for example, Prince Charles and the Duke of York, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward and the Princess Royal Anne, you don't see them in public being as chummy as you see Prince Harry and Prince William. Even Princess Margaret and Queen Elizabeth did not share a very public affection. They were affectionate behind closed doors. They were from a different generation. And so these two brothers, that bond that we've seen over the course of several years is obviously going to be on full display when Harry is wed to the beautiful Meghan Markle. And that's just something that is just indicative of how wonderful these two brothers are when they're in public together, as you saw yesterday when we were watching them right here behind me on Castle Hill.
Oh, Nacho Fagatis.
All right, Vlad, look who just arrived. That's Nacho Fagatis. He's from the Hamptons. He's a big...
I loved how you perked up there, Gail.
He's awesome. Also...
a great polo player.
Nacho, by the way, is going to come to CBS this morning in a couple of weeks. I can't wait to talk to him about this wedding. He's coming to talk about polo. There's a big match coming on, but now we can ask him about the wedding. Nacho's just arrived with his lovely wife, Delphine. We are back now watching the guest arrivals. With us is Ingrid Seward. She's editor of Majesty Magazine and author of several books about the royal family. As you're watching the guest arrive, what are you thinking, Ingrid? You've seen many royal weddings. What are you thinking about this one?
I think this has got many more celebrities than most of them.
Really?
Yes. I mean, it's wonderful to see Oprah arrive. She's everybody's favourite. And then we love James Blunt, the singer, here in England. And he was once in the army, and during his time in the army, he was actually standing on guard over the Queen Mother's coffin when it was lying in state. That sounds a bit morbid, but it's a great honour.
Yes.
And we love James Blunt. He's had a lot of hit songs. I don't think he's really made it in America.
No, he has that hit song.
Yeah,
You're beautiful.
Oh, yes.
Do you know that?
Yes, of course I do.
I won't sing anymore. But
that's the second time, though.
You're beautiful. I love that song.
I love that.
Well, when you talk about celebrities, because I was always told that they did not want this to be a celebrity-focused wedding, but you've got George and Amal Clooney. Celebrity!
You can't get bigger than that.
Yes.
And you've got, for us, you've got David Beckham and his wife, and he's obviously going to make his way to the FA Cup final this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
But as you said, William won't be going. But I don't think William would have dared go, because he obviously wants to have a few drinks at the reception.
Do you think so?
Oh,
definitely. The Queen had to give her permission for Meghan to be, for this wedding to take place.
Well, because Harry is 6th in line to the throne, he's still under the auspices of having to ask his grandmother. It stops with Harry.
He has to ask his grandmother for permission.
He has to ask his grandmother's permission if he could marry. Of course, she's not going to say no.
Right.
And, you know, she gets on really, really well with Harry.
What do you make of the title of Duke of Sussex? What does that mean?
Well, it was one of the available dukedoms, which we love in this country, all that kind of thing.
What is a dukedom, though, for people in America who may not understand? Like, what does that mean necessarily?
Well, it is an honorary title, and he is a royal duke. And so you've got you've got the Earl of Wessex, but you've got the Duke of Sussex. It's so complicated. But the last Duke of Sussex was Queen Victoria's favourite uncle, and he took Queen Victoria down the aisle. And he got an asthma attack.
Oh, boy.
And then he started crying. So he wasn't a great support. I think Prince Charles will be a far better support for Meghan today.
Well, now it's the Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
Yeah, but you want to say, when it comes to Meghan Markle, she should really be the Duchess of Success.
Oh, I like that.
She is successful.
I like that, Kevin. The Duchess of Success.
She'll be the Duchess of Sussex, but she'll also be Her Royal Highness, Prince Harry. So she'll still
she will be called Her Royal Highness?
Her Royal Highness, yes, Princess Harry of Wales. So like we have Princess Michael of Kent.
Yes.
She will be Princess Harry of Wales, but she won't be a princess in her own right. Am I getting too complicated?
No, we got it, Ingrid. We got it.
You got it.
Thank goodness you're here, and thanks. You know, marrying into the royal family means Meghan Markle will immerse herself in British culture and customs. She's expected to adopt the code of etiquette associated with royal life. Markle is an American, as you all know, and she also plans to become a citizen of the UK. That means she has to pass a test where she may have to know facts like how early pubs are open in England.
That's not a real question.
Time is it?
It's 11 a.m.
Thank you, Gail. Who is the 5th wife of Henry VIII?
The answer is Catherine Howard.
Yeah, right. It's sitting right there. Charlie Daggett is on the streets of
Windsor. I can read.
I was impressed with your knowledge of history.
Yes, there it is. I can read. Yes.
What does it take to become a royal, Charlie? Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. Well, it takes an awful lot, and one of the things it will take is the fact that Meghan has said she wants to become a British citizen, and if she does that, that means passing the British citizenship test, which I, of course, did last week with flying colors. Well, I don't know if it was flying colors. I passed anyway. It's a difficult test. Something like 144,000 people took it last year, 43,000 failures. We're going to ask some actual British people actual questions and see how they do. Okay. Jane?
Joy.
Joy. Jane and Joy?
Yes.
Okay. The age of Big Ben.
The age of Big Ben?
How old is Big Ben?
Oh, my goodness.
151. How tall is the London Eye?
These are questions
These are actual questions.
Oh, I didn't realize they were those sort of questions. We should have looked at our history.
443 feet.
Oh, my goodness.
You should know this from your history lessons. The people who supported the king, known in 1642. It's not easy, is it? I had to memorize it.
1642.
The Cavaliers.
Oh, yeah.
Which two kings believed in the divine right of kings? Seriously, who's going to know that?
That's ridiculous.
Right. How hard is it going to be for Meghan?
Very hard. But she's having lessons.
I'm sure she's going to have
learned lessons in history before. Yeah.
What do you think of her becoming a British citizen? How important is that to you?
I think it's wonderful. She's a lovely girl, and she's very confident, and they're very happy.
We're all behind her.
What more? She's marrying an Englishman, so she should become a British citizen, definitely.
Well, there you go.
Definitely.
That's as good as we could do here, guys. Back to you.
That's Tom Hardy. That's Tom Hardy.
It wasn't easy.
I don't know.
Weren't even the hard
He's the
ones.
actor.
What is he in?
The Revenant. All right. Thank you very much, Charlie Daggett. We're so busy looking at the guest list of the people arriving. We just saw Tom Hardy, the actor, was there.
There's Pippa Middleton again.
Yes, there's Pippa again. Idris Elba. And we already know the mustard yellow hat is George and Amal Clooney. She looks stunning.
Yes, she did. Back with us now, Tina Brown, a CBS News contributor and author of the Diana Chronicles. And I ask you, this is a very different feel for the wedding today. More celebrity, not as stuffy as, say, Will and Kate.
And no heads of state.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, without those crowned heads, you've got a whole. You can clear out.
Crowned heads.
You can clear out a whole bunch of not great-looking, sort of stiff people, and instead, fill it up with some of these gorgeous people like Amal Clooney. And
you know, looks don't matter. It's your personality and your heart.
But right now, it's all about the hats, and the crowned heads can't match the celebrities.
It is fun, though. I have to say, looking at the hats and the variety of the hats.
It's so fun. The interesting thing is just how well the English aristocracy clean up too. You see these people in their little shrunken cardigans and pearls, and then they suddenly show up at the wedding looking so groomed and so shiny and so behatted. They look absolutely amazing.
Well, everybody kind of hanging around and mixing inside the church. They don't have to take their seats until what time?
This is a big, big party. I mean, they'll take their seats about, I would think, in about 20 minutes or so, before the certainly a good while before the Queen arrives, because everything has to be settled and sat down before the Queen arrives.
Kevin, I do think that was an interesting observation, because normally in America, when you go to a church for a wedding, you're led to your seat and you sit there quietly. So is this pretty customary that you come and you're allowed to mingle before the service?
It's often a big mixer before a wedding, and we've seen that actually. Prince Charles's wedding was a real party going on in those. I mean, people didn't even want to sit down. It was like a party where you can't get them to sit down.
Well, it was on the invitation. It was interesting because it said for men morning suits. I know what that is. That's very official. And the other thing it said was lounge suit. I don't know what a lounge suit is.
A lounge suit is a business suit.
Oh,
and a morning suit has tails. And you wear a top hat.
Kevin, for instance, has on a lounge suit.
He has a lounge suit.
This would be a lounge suit,
and a very elegant one, I may add.
Yes,
thank you very much. So I could go in if I was invited. I could go in.
You could sneak in.
And for the women, they were told a day dress with a hat. Because, as you know, I wasn't invited to the wedding, but this is a dress I would have worn had I been invited.
You could certainly have worn that. Absolutely. You look totally dressed to go.
This is what I would have worn, but they said for the women, a day dress and a hat. Let's talk about the vows for a second, because we're told that Meghan is not going to use the words obey in the vows.
Well, nor did Kate, and nor did Diana, and she certainly followed her non-vow, right?
Yes, I rather like that. I like that
too.
Tradition.
I think you've said goodbye right now to obey. I don't think you're going to see any more obey from royal brides, because this is a moment in our life and culture where women don't want to be asked to obey their husbands anymore. I think we're done with obey.
All right, Tina Brown, thank you. As you know, you are not dismissed. We still need you. We're just going to take a break right now. Meghan Markle is preparing to make her way to Windsor Castle. It's almost time. Look at the countdown clock ahead. We'll check in with Seth Doan. He's at Clifton House Hotel. That's where Meghan and her mom are, to learn about the bride's final preparations. You're watching CBS News live coverage of the royal wedding. We are so excited to be here. We're taking a break. We'll be right back. Contributor and royal biographer Penny Jr. is with us. Once again, we're seeing, Elton John.
Elton John there talking to James Blunt. What song did James Blunt sing?
You're beautiful, it's true. Oh, and there's Elton's husband, David Furnish, is also there.
And look at David Beckham also walking in. A big day for David Beckham, his beloved Manchester United, playing in the FA Cup final. And he is, of course, one of the legends of that franchise. And, you know, James Blunt also was a military man like Harry. So,
you know, it's so interesting when we were talking about the guest list, Elton John, I knew he was pulling our leg because he said, oh, you guys
that was that same day, Gail, that we talked to Elton, and he said
no, he hadn't gotten an invitation, and he could just roll right down to Windsor, and I don't know if I'm going to be invited. He knew he was going to be here.
But let's remember, he was in Las Vegas yesterday, wrapping up his residency in Las Vegas, so somehow he made it here in time for the wedding. He wasn't going to miss it, and he will pay tribute to
beautiful shot of
Princess Diana. And
beautiful shot of
her.
them all, Clooney uptight. I didn't know he was in Vegas yesterday. That's interesting.
You want to talk about a man
plane.
who chose well, George Clooney.
Yes, yes.
I mean, how lucky is he
I think
to have that woman on his arm?
in that relationship, and
yes,
they're the parents of twins. CBS News contributor and royal biographer Penny Jr. is back with us again to talk about the effect of this marriage on the monarchy.
I think this will be a great fillip for the monarchy. I think this is
fillip for the monarchy.
Yeah,
what do you mean?
a good thing.
Oh, okay.
A good thing.
Okay.
A very good thing. No, I do. I think that the monarchy has, for years, been a little bit too upper class and too white. Kate Middleton.
Well, it's always been white.
It has always been white. I mean, not surprisingly, because this was once a very white country, but I mean, it is no longer. And I think that Kate Middleton coming in was a very good thing because she was a middle-class person, the first person who was not an aristocrat coming into the family. But now we have an American who is of mixed race and who is from fairly ordinary origins as well.
In terms of being a commoner, she would certainly fall into that category. And you hear about race relations in the UK, but they seem to be very embracing, not only the public, but the monarchy as well seems to be very embracing of Meghan Markle.
Absolutely.
But she brings a lot to the table, though, Penny, does she not?
Oh, she does.
Yes.
She does. No, I think she will be. I mean, it'll be very, very interesting to see how it plays out there because she is quite a political woman. You know, she's got a lot to say, and she's bright and she's vocal. And I think she may need to be a little bit careful because traditionally our monarchy has really, you know, since it lost its political power, it's had to remain non-political.
How will that work? And by the way, James Corden, one of the guests arriving right now, James Corden, who held secrets, and Priyanka Chopra. Look at her looking stunning.
She and Meghan are good friends. Priyanka, you know, stars on the ABC show Quantico, and she was talking about the outfit that she was going to wear. She's been very mum about going to the wedding, but we knew that she was coming. Abigail Spencer also there to the left of Priyanka.
And we talk about
I love these hats, Penny. Do you love the hats?
Beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
We also talk about how fashionable people look and how different this is from other royal weddings. There are a lot of beautiful people in designer clothes walking into this wedding, which is very different because usually you have heads of state who are just basically...
Are heads of state not beautiful, Kevin?
Well, listen, let's be honest, Gail. Let's be honest.
Penny, are heads of state not beautiful people?
Let's keep it real, Gail.
I do know what you mean. I do. It definitely is a very different look. This feels quite glamorous, does it not?
It does, and it's young and it's vibrant.
There's James Corden and his wife. Yes, they just had their third child, and James Corden had told us a couple of weeks ago, of course, that he was being invited to the wedding, and that he's being asked to host the reception, the private reception for 200 people. James has chosen the morning suit look.
Yes.
You know, you were told either wear a lounge suit or a morning coat, and we know, of course, that a morning suit has tails rather, and a lounge suit is just a very nice suit like Kevin has on today.
And of course, a lot of the people coming here are from the entertainment world. Is there royal protocol, or do you learn from someone when you get that invitation? Are you given a list of do's and don'ts?
I don't think you're given do's and don'ts, but I think it's pretty well known how you behave around royal people.
Yes, yes.
You know, you
sit up straight, you keep your elbows off the table. I do know this. I was told about all of the important guests, all of the celebrities, you know, that they, no matter how close they are to Windsor Castle, everyone has to arrive by bus, also known as a luxury coach is what they're calling it. You're taken to a secret location and brought into a drop-off point. But everybody, no matter who you are, has to arrive by bus today. I think. Oh, and that's Ben Winslow, who is James Corden's producing partner, also invited to the wedding. Penny Jr., thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Meghan Markle, but don't go far. Meghan Markle is just 20 minutes away now from leaving her hotel with her mom, Doria Ragland. Seth Doan is outside the Clifton House Hotel with the latest activity there. Seth, what do you see?
We are starting to see some more activity just outside of the hotel. People walking down, taking pictures down this long driveway where we expect to see Meghan Markle drive down quite soon. Anticipation building. Presumably she's taking a deep breath here. It is quite quiet and tranquil here. Very different scenes. We've seen them preparing the front driveway here, watering it down, getting ready. Don't want to have any errant dust get in the way of the photo opportunity here. We also saw Meghan Markle and her mom step out of the car after a very civilized tea yesterday afternoon with the Queen. She told the press that she was wonderful, looked completely at ease. I've traveled around the world covering royals and different engagements, and it is unbelievable. Through it all, they always seem at ease. They can be in the heat and humidity of Singapore without a single wrinkle, completely unbothered. And today we anticipate seeing that a great deal of excitement building here. Gail?
All right, Seth Doan, thank you. I can't wait for her to walk out the door and we finally get to see the dress. What did she say? Yes to the dress, too. We'll find out coming up very soon. The official wedding photographer Prince Harry and Meghan chose has just arrived at St. George's Chapel. His name is Alexei Lubomirsky. There he is on the right-hand side of your screen, walking with his wife in the seafoam coat. He's a Polish prince himself, by the way. He says so in name only. They call him His Serene Highness. He took the couple's official engagement photos. He's also photographed celebrities like Beyonce, Angelina Jolie, and Julia Roberts. Talked to him yesterday, and I wondered, hey, Alexei, are you a little nervous about today? Would you describe this as the biggest assignment of your career?
I think, yes. 3 months ago, I had the other biggest assignment of my career.
Yes, they keep on coming.
Yes. I was more than happy to have done the royal engagement pictures. Then we were lucky enough, my wife and I were lucky enough to be invited to the wedding. So that was,
so you're going to the actual wedding?
Yes, so we're going to the actual wedding.
Okay. How is that going to work physically? What's your game plan physically to get that accomplished?
Don't panic. From the chapel, while they go on the carriage ride around Windsor, so we're going to run from the chapel to the area where we're shooting, and everything's already set up.
Are you nervous? Do you feel pressure?
It's funny that with the engagement pictures, nobody knew that I was doing the pictures, so there was zero pressure. This one, everybody knows, and I'm getting lots of wonderfully lovely comments from around the world via social media. But no, just a healthy amount of nerves and adrenaline pumping.
He's going to kill it. He will kill it.
I think he'll do a fantastic job.
Yes.
And look, Serena Williams just arrived. Ahead, we'll check in with Mark Phillips for a look at the who's who on the guest list and who's arrived. And the new hour will also bring a new hat for Gayle King. That's one of the reasons why you have to watch us, because we're already on a second hat.
Yes, we're
You're watching CBS News' live coverage of the royal wedding. Quick change.
Yep, we'll be back.
I never did ask you guys.
CBS News presents the royal wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. From the moment they announced their love.
I could barely let you finish proposing. I was like, can I say yes now?
I was like, can I give you the ring? She goes, oh, yes, the ring.
Their fairy tale romance has captivated people around the world. The prince, who grew up before our eyes. And the young California girl turned actress whose dreams of becoming royalty come true today. You're invited to the event of the year, the guests, the traditions, the family, the pageantry, a royal affair fit for a queen, live from Windsor Castle. Hello again from Windsor Castle. I'm Gail King from CBS This Morning.
And I'm Kevin Frazier, co-host of Entertainment Tonight, and we are less than 1 hour from the start of the royal wedding, Gail.
Yes. We are starting hour number 3, and let me tell you something. We've been on the air since 4 a.m. Eastern Time, and if somebody had said to you, Kevin, you're going to be on the air 4 a.m. Eastern Time, and you're going to go on for 6 hours live, you think, well, what is it? And then you hear a system, you go, okay. Put me in, Coach.
Yes.
We just saw Fergie arrive to the wedding. You know, that was a bit of a controversy because would Fergie be invited? Would she not be invited? Because there have been some feelings with Fergie and the royal family. But listen, she is very close to Harry.
Yes.
And she's very close to Harry's daughters.
Yes. And her daughters are very close with Harry. And so it's important that Sarah Ferguson is here.
Yes, thank you, Kevin.
It's great to see her here. She looks beautiful. And, you know, people have said that her and Andrew still get along
They do.
well.
They get along beautifully.
All right, here's the big deal, y'all. In a little over 10 minutes from now, Meghan Markle will leave Cliveden House Hotel. And by the time she gets here, just before the service, the first members of the royal family will be ready.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but who was that in that orange outfit?
In that orange. I didn't see it, but
somebody,
it is
please
beautiful.
tell us who that is. Okay, go ahead.
But there's John Major right there.
Yes.
And, of course, folks will be taking their seats inside St. George's Chapel. Prince Harry and his best man, Prince William, are set to arrive at 6:40 Eastern.
And then I'm still trying to figure out who that woman is in the orange.
You love that dress, didn't you?
I love the dress and just her attitude. She's like, I have arrived. You know who I am. And I'm trying to figure out who is she. And then Prince Charles and his wife Camilla will make their way around here about 6:42. Charles will be walking Meghan down the aisle after her father, Thomas Markle, canceled his plans to attend. He apparently has health issues. And then coming up next to arrive Meghan's mom, that's Doria Ragland.
Yeah, and they are followed at 6:52 a.m. Eastern by the Queen, Queen Elizabeth, and then finally the bride herself. Now, during the actual wedding, the Archbishop of Canterbury will deliver declarations. Lady Jane Fellows, one of Princess Diana's sisters, will make a rare public appearance to read from the Song of Solomon. The Reverend Michael Curry will give the sermon, and that'll add another piece of the American flair. That's followed by the reading of the vows, and then the carriage procession around the town of Windsor, which should be nothing short of spectacular. People have been sleeping outside waiting for that moment.
I'll say, we just saw Idris Elba. He was talking to Serena Williams. I have to wonder, what are they talking about down there? Our team of correspondents is watching all the action this morning. Mark Phillips is inside the gates of Windsor Castle. He's got a really prime spot where more than 2,600 people will soon be part of royal history. Mark, good morning.
Good morning. And those 2,600 people are, in fact, gathered around the church here. This is in addition to the 600 guests who are inside. These are members of the community, people associated with charities and other causes that the couple are associated with, and they're the special guests at this wedding as well. You had mentioned Sarah Ferguson earlier. There was another story, controversy about her. She was invited to the ceremony and the wedding, but there's still some question as to whether she's invited to the party this evening, unless she decides to crash or something. So these little royal intrigues go on even in the midst of all this pomp and ceremony. Among the guests we've seen arrive, just to go over quickly, we did see Serena Williams arrive here. We also saw Elton John show up. The Clooneys, of course, were arriving, and the Beckhams. Nothing much happens in Britain without David and Victoria Beckham. Oprah Winfrey was one of the first guests to arrive here, and within the past few minutes, They're the Beckhams. In the past few minutes, we have seen the arrival of the cast from Suits, which is, of course, the show that Meghan Markle appeared in, Patrick Adams and the various people from that cast arriving. And this kind of event comes with a whole bunch of rules, some of which we've mentioned before. Everybody seems to have kept to them. I haven't noticed any open-toed shoes. You're not supposed to have those. I haven't noted any striking colored tights. They have to be neutral colored tights. We'll see what happens, other protocol things. Nobody leaves. The Queen's not here yet, but nobody leaves before the Queen leaves. When you're in church, you have to keep your hat on all the time. And when you leave the church, kind of rule number one, maybe they should put this first, is nobody talks to the press. The press here gets to watch, but you can't actually interact with any of the people who participated in the wedding at this stage. And it's kind of interesting because Harry's relationship with the press has evolved over time. We know all about the business with Diana and he and his brother William feeling resentment toward the press, part blaming paparazzi for the death of his mother. It's evolved over time. That's going to have to evolve even more so because of the Meghan Markle factor. She's got great interest associated with her. Put her picture on a magazine, it sells. Wherever they go, they will be followed. We'll see if the kind of kinder, gentler relationship between the press and the royals that has been established over the past few years, particularly since Williams had his younger family. We'll see how well that works going forward with the star factors in the family now, who are Harry and Meghan. Kevin?
Yeah, well, we certainly understand why they have such bruised and mixed feelings about the press, that 100%. It certainly has been very dicey. We get that. And I love, Mark, what you just said about you know, when the people leave the church, none of them will talk to the press. And I think if you're really true friends of Harry and Meghan, you're not going to talk to us. I totally understand that.
And, you know, I also thought it was interesting, you know, we've seen Amal Clooney there, and maybe she can take a page from Amal Clooney, who has been stylish, elegant, has interacted a little bit with the press, but has also been able to keep and remain private in some ways and still work and do her job. So I think that is maybe one of the people that Meghan Markle can look at and say, there's an example of how you can live in the spotlight. Of course, royal protocols are a little different for Meghan than Amal, but still, Amal sets a beautiful example. I also want to mention that barricades, airport-style scanners, and bag searches are just a part of the massive security operation this morning, but everything is moving well, and everybody seems to be happy here in Windsor. Charlie D'Agata is on the streets of Windsor, where those precautions are doing nothing to dampen the celebrations. Charlie, good morning.
Hey, Kevin, moving well is the best way to describe it. Now, I know it's been crazy up at your end of the castle most of the day, but when we got here at like 4 a.m., there were like 3 guys and a dog. And now look at this place. There are tens of thousands of people here on the long walk, more arriving by the minute. The vast majority, something like 60,000, are arriving by train. 7,500 an hour is how much they can handle. Security hasn't had these bottlenecks, so they've been able to move through, and we're told that everybody here at the procession is going through airport-like security. In some cases, they're having their bag searched. The screening is taking place, but it isn't dampening the mood at all. Now, the security is dealt with in layers, as it's been described to us from the top commander in charge of this operation. You have the inner layers, security bubble, where you have royal protection officers, and that's around the royal family themselves. Now, obviously, inside that castle, everything's fine. The pinch point comes during the procession, when they make their way right out here in the middle of the general public, down King's Road, and then turn back here up toward the castle. Once again, you got tens of thousands of people here. Everybody's been screened. The routes have been checked. There's a 48-hour no-fly zone overhead. We have seen police officers, you can see right there, if you can switch around. We see them on patrol as they're walking up and down the procession, and we understand there are plainclothes armed officers in the crowd. But everything, festive atmosphere, everybody's having a great time. Gail?
All right, Charlie D'Agata, thank you. We've been talking about who is that lovely woman in the orange and the black hat who walked in. She really had attitude when she walked in, like, I have arrived. There's a good reason for that. She's Javina Gavankar. She's a friend of Meghan's and an actress. They've been friends for a little bit here.
And Gail, you heard all the talk about security, but you know, know, I have never seen nicer people with machine guns.
Yeah, Kevin, that's a very good way to put it, yes. No, honestly, you're making a very good point there, because number one, they encourage you to come up and ask questions.
Yes.
They smile when they answer the questions. They don't act like you're disturbing them, even though you all know that they're doing a very important job. We've seen sharpshooters on all the roof. Security here is very, very tight. I've seen the officers go over to people on the streets and say, look, you're here for your safety and your comfort. We just want you to know that we're looking over you and you're going to be okay. The only time someone got a little testy was when we were in the street doing stand-ups.
Yes.
And even then he said, ma'am, if you don't, would you kindly get out of the middle of the street, ma'am? Would you kindly get out of the middle of the street? But even then he said it with such a nice tone, and all you can say is, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. But they're exceedingly polite and really want you to know that they want to help you.
By the way, I want to remind you, Meghan Markle is just minutes away from leaving Cliveden House. That's going to be the big moment. Next stop for her, then Windsor Castle, and a new life as Prince Harry's bride. It is the perfect fairy tale ending to someone who has, you know, had a magical ascension throughout her life.
It does feel like a fairy tale day. You know, I've heard the British use terms like I was saying the weather is glorious, and somebody said, no, Gail, it's blazing. And then someone else said to me, the weather is absolutely crackers today. So apparently that's a very good thing, right, Tina? The weather is crackers.
And that's Cliveden House right there.
That's Cliveden House where Meghan is staying with her mom. She's following in the footsteps of her soon-to-be sister-in-law, Kate Middleton. Kate, by the way, spent the night before her wedding at London's Goring Hotel with friends and family before she headed to Westminster Abbey. CBS News contributor Tina Brown is author of the Diana Chronicles. She joins us now with Ingrid Seward, editor of Majesty magazine and author of several books on the royal family.
Yeah. Tina, what's going through right now? What is going on for Meghan Markle as she gets ready to appear and she knows that the world will be watching, especially they want to see that dressed?
Well, this has been absolute lockdown at Cliveden. She has been, that whole wing where Meghan is staying has been really locked down. Everyone there has signed NDAs so that no one can speak about what's happening behind that door as she gets ready. She had her family there, you know, her mother there last night, who arrived looking a lot overwhelmed but very excited. She's got her close friends, the hairdresser who flew in from Paris. She's got her dress designer, whoever that may be. We still don't know.
You still say it won't be the Emanuels?
No, I still do. I'm actually thinking it may now be a little-known British designer, that she's going to go cutting edge and she's going to go surprising.
Not
that it's going to be. That's what, you know, the inside tips at the moment are.
Give someone an opportunity.
Give someone an opportunity.
Do you have a name?
I don't have a name, but I'm hearing people will be, quote, shocked by the choice.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, then it can't be Ralph and Russo if they're going to be shocked. They would be shocked if it was the Emanuels, though, wouldn't they?
They would be deeply shocked, but I suspect that would not be
happening. You still say no to that. All right.
No to
it's about a 6-mile ride from the chapel, from the hotel where she spent the night with her mom. And I was told that the two of them spent a very lovely time together. She and her mother were quite close. And when they arrived, a reporter asked Meghan Markle, how are you feeling? And she said these words.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. They said that she's in a very zen place, that she's feeling very comfortable and calm.
Yeah, it was a quiet night, very small dinner, very quiet time, trying to just zone out.
You know, Tina and Ingrid, I think it's interesting the structure of the church, that they're sitting sideways. You know, that's unusual for us, that they're sitting sideways and Meghan will walk down the middle of the aisle.
Yeah, the great thing about a British wedding is it has this great sort of festive feeling. It really does. I mean, we've seen some stunning arrivals, I think.
Yes,
I mean, one of the things I love actually is that now this is very much a celebrity-filled wedding. You know, you have such a much more fun looking at that red carpet. It used to be all these kind of dim, dusty duchesses in, you know, the same old hat.
That's what I was saying.
You know, I think it's a great upgrade. I think everybody's thrilled.
That's what Kevin said. Is there anything, Ingrid, that goes into the seating of the church, the sideways that it's placed? And then the seating of the church, is there any
the royal
protocol to that?
Well, yes, there is, and this is the royal family will all be seated on one side, and although it would have been Meghan's family if there were any here, but her mother would be on the opposite side, but as she's sort of on her own, maybe she will be with the royal family, because this is certainly by royal standards a slightly unconventional wedding.
Yes, it's very different. You know, I was talking to people from the palace yesterday. How did it come about that Prince Charles would be escorting Meghan down the aisle? And he told me, I met with two of them, they said that Meghan had a conversation with Harry and said, what would you think about asking your father? And Harry thought it was a great idea, and they went to Prince Charles, and Prince Charles said he would be delighted. And they said it's very important to put the emphasis on that he is not walking her down the aisle, that he is accompanying her, because she will enter the church alone, and she will walk the first half alone and will be greeted by him. It's a way of welcoming her to the family, and he never had a daughter.
Right,
so this is a way of, I thought that was a very sweet thing.
It's very sweet, but it's also a fantastic validation and endorsement, because after all of the kind of, you know, histrionics about the Markle family not attending, Tom Markle not attending, to have the future king walking you down, walking you those last steps, that's a huge endorsement. And of course it's also a great thing for Prince Charles, because after all he is the father of Prince Harry, and he gets slightly written out of this script, you know, he really does. This gives him a huge moment where he is escorting, he has a very good optics, as they say, for the royal family.
You raised such a good point, and Ingrid, I'd like you to talk about this, about Prince Philip, because so many, Prince Charles, Prince Philip is the grandfather, because yesterday they were saying, you know, you always see these pictures of Diana and her boys, but right beside Diana was often Prince Charles, and you never saw him. He's been very actively involved and is very close to his sons, is he not, Ingrid?
He is, especially after Diana's death. He really took over as a father in perhaps a way that he couldn't before, because she was always there for them. And I think that they became very close to him. They love him. They think he's funny. But you know, they have differences, like everybody does with their parents, because they're two very independent boys, and they sometimes think, well, Dad's a bit of an old fogey. But I think this is a wonderful thing for him to do, and I think the Dean of Windsor will meet Meghan on the steps, and he will guide her for the first bit. Whether he'll take her to meet Prince Charles or not, we're not sure yet.
Okay.
And also, is this an important moment for Prince Charles? Because I know in the Americas, he has so often been vilified because of the divorce from Diana and how things went. But that's the man who was there to help pick up the pieces for those boys.
You know, he also planned their whole sort of lives very, very carefully. For instance, when Harry left school, it was a very difficult time. He came up with the idea of sending him off to Africa. These boys have done their, quote, gap years in between school and college in these far-flung places where they're helping people. Harry really found himself in that Africa trip to Lesotho, and this was all Charles's very careful planning.
We just saw Zara, the daughter of Princess Anne, and her husband Mike. I just saw Fergie's daughters, Fergie and Andrew's daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie arriving.
Peter Phillips, the Queen's favourite grandson.
Which one is the Queen's favourite grandson?
With a beard.
With a beard. Okay.
And that's his wife Autumn, who's Canadian. That's on his arm.
And she's just out of the frame.
The interesting thing now is that all of the sort of reigning beauties are brunettes. Have you sort of noticed that? We've got Meghan, right? We've got Amal Clooney. We've got Kate. We've got Pippa. Brunette is definitely the look right now.
I think it's good that brunettes are the reigning beauties. Blonde Tina and blonde Ingrid.
Just saying.
Yes. Go ahead, Ingrid. Us out, Tina, then. Where has been blondes now?
We had a good run, is all I can say.
Isn't it great, too, guys, that Fergie is there?
And she looks so elegant.
Yes,
I thought Fergie looked wonderful.
And she was greeted by her future son-in-law, Jack Brooksbank, and he took her to where she was seated. So otherwise it could have been a bit awkward for her going in totally on her own, but he guided her. I noticed he was really looking after her.
And I believe Princess Eugenie's getting married in this chapel, too, next month.
She is.
She's getting married in St. George's Chapel.
Well, there she is, and there's her father.
There's Princess Eugenie right there. She's getting married in St. George's Chapel next month. There's Prince Andrew.
And she stayed on immensely good terms with Prince Andrew, and there are many people who feel that once Prince Philip dies that she might remarry him.
There's Princess Anne right behind Princess Eugenie. She just stepped out of frame, but Princess Anne was there.
And then there's
is that Edward? Is that Prince Edward?
That's Prince Edward and his son, Viscount Seven, the little boy there, and that's his wife Sophie.
Well, we know we're getting close when you see the royal family arriving.
Okay, the
car is just arriving for
Princess Anne.
Oh, is she in there already? They snuck her in?
No, that won't be her yet.
That won't be her yet, no.
Okay.
That won't be her yet?
Or maybe that's Clifton.
I don't know, guys. That kind of looks like her.
That looks like Clifton.
Yeah, that's her in the back.
We're leaving Clifton. We're leaving
Clifton. Leaving Clifton, and she has gotten in the car without being seen.
We didn't see her get in the car.
We do see some kind of headdress there.
And so she will be heading to Windsor Castle.
What a moment.
Her hair is clearly up, so we now know that her hair will be up. If you look at Doria Raglan on the left. You see Doria Raglan on the left, and there she is. Her hair up, and she has a veil.
And which tiara is that going to be?
It looked like the Spencer tiara, but I couldn't quite see.
Now, I was told yesterday by the people from the palace that the car is going to drop Doria off at another location, and Doria will walk in, and then they will bring Meghan to the steps so we can see Meghan get out of the car. And they said it'll be very interesting to see the entrance that she makes.
You know,
so they're going to get Doria in, and Meghan will have that moment by herself. It'll be interesting to see if that's how that plays out.
It could just be that Spencer tiara, actually. It's bigger than I expected. I thought it was going to be
Spencer tiara.
Diana's tiara.
Diana's tiara, which you know was sparkled with diamonds and had these great swirls in it, and it's quite large and quite heavy.
What does that mean to Harry when he turns around and he sees his bride and he sees that tiara?
Well, if it is, let's just wait. But it looks as if it might be. Well, it will have obviously deep symbolism if that is so. It's hard to quite see whether it's as big enough to be that
Diana
tiara.
and Ingrid, do you get to choose the tiara you want to wear, or the palace has to approve? What is the protocol on that, Ingrid?
The protocol is that Meghan can really, if she wanted to, she could look at the Queen's vast collection of tiaras and borrow whatever she liked, obviously with the Queen's permission. But I think Harry would very much want her to wear the Spencer tiara. Harry is Spencer, he's very proud of his Spencer heritage, but as I say, it is very hard to see from just through the car window.
I think it's so lovely that Meghan and her mom are in the car together. She told Glamour magazine last year that her mom is one of 10 women who changed her life. She wrote, "My mom's a yoga instructor. She does social work as well. She works specifically with the geriatric community. We can just have so much fun together, and yet I still find so much solace in her support." That's nice.
Yeah, she seems like a warm, practical, and very discreet woman. I mean, she's behaved impeccably throughout the whole lead-up.
No, she says, "My mom is a free spirit. She's got dreadlocks and a nose ring, and she just ran the LA Marathon." That's great.
You know, there has been talk that Doria Ragland will leave her job in Los Angeles. Do you think she will come here and move in? You know, Harry and Meghan will move into that massive apartment. They're calling a tiny little apartment, that massive, more than 20 bedrooms in that apartment.
Well, I think she'd be very lonely, frankly, if she did. I mean, living in Kensington Palace is pretty sort of formidable, and it's not a warm and friendly environment, really. It's like being in a massive hotel surrounded by relatives of the royal family. I remember, you know, Edward VIII said there were so many relatives living in Kensington Palace, he called it an aunt heap. Because actually, about now, there's the Duke of Gloucester lives there, the Princess Michael lives there, and of course, usually it's going to move into an apartment next door. Harry's next door. It's a huge family compound.
Kevin, I would actually be very surprised if she did that, because I've heard that she really loves her work. She really loves the people that she works with very much, and is very happy with her life in LA. I think this has been a bit overwhelming for her. I don't think that she expected the kind of attention that it's getting, but I think she, of course, is very happy and very proud of her daughter. But I would be very surprised if she gave up her life and came to live here in England.
Of course, that change when they have children. It may well be that she wants her mum there then. But
now, it's about a 6-mile ride to the chapel. How long will that take, Ingrid? About how long will that ride take?
Well, they're going quite at a sort of very royal, sedate pace. So I should think it would take, probably, they could make it stretch out for about 20 minutes. 25 minutes.
Now, Princess Anne, her children don't have a royal title, per se, correct? So
that's correct.
By choice.
Yes, when the Queen...
Okay, we're going to take a look at Meghan in the car. Let's see if you all can glean anything from what we can see of the dress. Number one, we knew that it would have sleeves, because I'm told in the church that you have to wear sleeves, you have to have closed-toe shoes, and that you have to wear pantyhose. But I think it's hard to really draw any conclusion. We can see a boat neck, we can see some lace, we can see a veil, but I think it's really hard to draw any conclusion. Ingrid or
it looks very classical.
Tina?
I think Tina might be right. It looks a very classical dress.
Yeah, it looks very classical, and it does look like the tiara because of the sparkles in it. I mean, you know, that was the thing about Diana. As she walked down the aisle in that Spencer tiara, the light kept catching all the diamonds in it, and the swirls.
You know, I marvel, guys, at how they've been able to keep the dressmaker a secret. I mean, right up till the very, very end, because so many people have to be involved in making this dress. Ingrid, how is that possible in this day and age when people, honest to God, I've said this before, will sell you out for a bag of potato chips? How were they able to do that, do you think?
With great difficulty, but we thought it was Ralph and Russo because there was a photograph of Harry going in there, and I thought, but why would Prince Harry see his wife's dress before the wedding?
When did you see Harry going in?
I didn't, but there was a photograph of Harry going into their shop.
Yes.
And they're the only real couture.
But how were they able to keep it a secret, guys? Something this big, that people would kill to have this information. What is your...
I mean, Ralph and Russo also, I think, are doing another wedding today with the Swarovski jeweler in Switzerland. So I'd be surprised if they were doing that.
You'd be surprised if they were doing her dress?
I would. I do think it's going to be an unknown English designer. I think the dress is going to be a surprise.
We just saw Beatrice and Eugenie in very understated hats, because for Kate and Will's hat, ooh, they went all out.
Point, Kevin, yes.
They wore those big hats the last time, and a lot of people criticized them. They were memes all over the internet. This time, a little different.
They were not nice memes either.
No, they were not nice memes.
I mean, both Fergie and the two daughters this time, they're really playing it classical, and I think they're probably right.
There's Princess behind the lampshade.
And that's her husband, Timothy Lawrence.
Yeah.
Very, very
Yeah, she's another one, Princess
man.
Anne, she's been a very forthright, stoic, huge amount of charity work, which nobody ever writes about. She's one of the tensions
We don't hear much about her.
No, we don't. And one of the tensions between her and Diana was, there was Anne doing all of this charity work. She never got a single line about it, while Diana got all the headlines. That's going to be one of those issues as well, I think, that, the publicity that certain members get against the others.
Yes, do you think that could cause problems? If Meghan comes in, Ingrid and Tina, and gets all of their publicity, which it seems she is getting right now, do you see that causing problems or tensions within the royal family?
Well, certainly I think that Catherine and William might be rather relieved. I mean, they've got such a young family now, they've held the high ground for such a long time. I think it's much harder for people like the Prince of Wales, who really is doing some interesting, wonderful things, and his voice is very often not heard because it's overshadowed by the fact that we want to look at what Meghan's wearing, which is, I'm afraid, it's just human nature. You can't do anything about that.
This is really the story of poor Prince Charles's life, right? I mean, first he's overshadowed by Diana, then he's overshadowed by Kate and Harry, now he's going to be overshadowed by Meghan and Harry, and the man is like, soon can I please be king and have my moment in the coronation?
Now, we know that Williams has a part-time job as the helicopter pilot. Do you think that Harry will also kind of settle down and have some kind of part-time employment, or will he just do his charity work?
Well, I think he's really going to focus on this humanitarian work, and I think that the Queen is going to deploy them overseas a lot to do the Commonwealth appearances, because they keep talking. I mean, Meghan keeps mentioning whenever she can now, Commonwealth, Commonwealth. I think they're going to be deployed to be these overseas ambassadors. They don't have young families that they want to leave. There's also obviously a desire not to overshadow William, and William is the next king after Charles. And, they have to kind of deploy them in ways that is not going to step on each other's toes. And the Commonwealth is a place which they can do that.
Also, if they're traveling around the Commonwealth, it gives them just a tiny bit more freedom than they will get if they were constantly visible in London. I think that people are going to go crazy when they see them now, even more so. So if they're sent off to the Commonwealth, or sent off, they want to go, and the Queen is very keen on this, and Harry's mad about the Commonwealth. Is absolutely spot on there, and I think that it would be a good way to ease them into royal life before she starts having children, which I think she will do very quickly.
Yes, she's 36 and he's 33. He might be 34 now.
His birthday's in September, so
he'll be 34. But she's 36, and that is the time when, if you're going to have children as a woman, you need to start thinking about that. Harry is due to arrive in the next 10 minutes, so the countdown. It's so interesting, all the planning that goes into this wedding, that now it's down to this. Can we talk, guys, about Meghan Markle, the change in her life? Do you have any concerns about how big a change this will be for her, and if she's really up for it and understands how drastic her life is going to change? She's already given up her acting career.
Well, it's quite interesting. I was talking to somebody yesterday who was a great friend of Princess Margaret and Lord Snowdon when they were married. Of course, Snowdon was a famous photographer. Like Meghan, he had his own career. At first, he loved it and found it glamorous and exciting. After a time, he did find it constraining, and he did find it tedious. There's a lot of uninteresting work that you have to do. And she won't, Meghan will not be allowed just to pick and choose to do the most exciting things that she wants to do in terms of her humanitarian work. There's going to be a lot of, also, quite honestly, routine stuff, visiting kind of old folks' homes in places that, it's not all going to be this overseas kind of Angelina Jolie stuff, and that part of it, I think, could become boring.
But you do think being a member of the royal family, Ingrid, is very glamorous, that, as a little girl we played games of fairy tale and being a princess and being a queen. So you do see it as a very glamorous type of life.
No, I don't see it as being glamorous at all.
You don't?
I don't. I remember Fergie telling me, that you have to maybe change 5 or 6 times a day when you're on holiday with the Queen at Balmoral. There's even a precedence for who goes in the doors first. And it's your freedom gone. This is one of the reasons that the beautiful Cressida Bonus, Harry's former girlfriend,
who's there at the wedding.
She couldn't take the attention, and it's not just the attention of the press, it's the attention of the public with their telephones and the way they criticize.
And judge you.
And you're constantly judged, and your freedom is totally gone.
And also your routine is the same. I mean, one of the things that is very boring to sometimes, I mean, I know Diana got really tired of it, was, Sandringham at Christmas and all that. I mean, you have to do the same thing. At the Balmoral, you have to go at that time, and you have to be there and do this country.
But didn't Kate change that up a bit, though?
That's what I was going to say. They go to the Middletons, right? They spent this Christmas with the Middletons.
They did change it up a bit, but nonetheless, you can tell what you're going to be doing 2 years ahead.
Well, do you think, though, that Meghan will help move the monarchy forward, so you won't have this kind of, planning 2 years ahead in your life?
Yes. Do you think? I think she'd find it very hard to move that royal machine. I mean, the royals kind of surround you, and they present you with what you're doing. And she's going to be given a package of things to do, which will mix some things she wants to do and things that they want her to do. Don't forget, the Queen decides in the end what Prince Harry will be doing, because they're always sort of her fill-ins. Now she's getting older and older.
Her stand-ins, as
her stand-ins. They have to go and do things that the Queen doesn't really feel she can't do or doesn't really want to do, and they wait and hear what is required. So there's a lot of constraints on them.
All right, real quick, let's look at who's next to arrive at St. George's Chapel. Prince Harry and his best man, Prince William, will get there in about 10 minutes at 6:40 a.m. Eastern.
They will be followed by Prince Charles and Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, who married at the nearby Guildhall in Windsor back in 2005. Then at 6:45, Meghan's mother, Doria Ragland, will arrive. You've already seen her in the car with her daughter. She will be followed at 6:52 by Queen Elizabeth. And then finally, at 6:58, here comes the bride. She will arrive along with the bridesmaids in page boys. That includes Prince George and Prince Charlotte. The wedding itself begins at 7 a.m. Eastern, and I'm told that, there's 10 kids under the age of 11, and that they had 2 rehearsals for the children yesterday, and that the children nailed it perfectly. But I know that some of the parents are concerned because some of these kids are 3, and I think it's very different when you're in an empty chapel and you can go through and everything is fine. When you walk in and they see all of these people sitting there staring at them, it'll be interesting to see if they have the same reaction. I can remember my favorite daughter, Kirby, was a bridesmaid at 3 in a wedding of a close friend. She nailed it in rehearsal, and then when the time came, she just sat there with 2 fingers in her mouth. We're saying, come down the aisle, come down the aisle.
By the way, Kirby is mortified that you just told that story to the world. But there was a problem at Pippa's wedding with one of the children melting down.
Yeah, there was a problem. I think it's very risky to have anybody under 5 as your bridesmaid. But I guess at the same time it could make the best pictures too.
Yes, that's part of the fun. When everything doesn't go according to plan. I met a wedding planner yesterday. I did the BBC breakfast show yesterday, and there was a wedding planner who was coming on after me, and I was asking her what this is like. She goes, the person who is feeling most stressed is the wedding planner today, because she wants to make sure everything goes according, he or she wants to make sure everything is going to plan, and if it doesn't go to plan, that nobody finds out about it. And I never thought about a wedding planner being stressed on a day like this. She goes,
on the other
she's
hand,
feeling the most stressed.
This wedding has had a heck of a lot of surprises. I mean, they're publishing the order of service, and they've still got Tom Markle in it.
Still in the service, yes. Exactly.
Ingrid, what is the wedding planner going through right now, and what is it like as you're waiting for everyone to arrive and be put into place?
Well, for royal weddings, the Lord Chamberlain's office normally handles the whole thing, and there are never any hitches. And I think in this case, Buckingham Palace have handled this. I'm not sure that Meghan actually has a wedding planner. She might have a little personal planner, but I don't think the whole wedding is being done in the way it is in America with
I don't think so either.
No. I mean, let us not forget
I think you're right.
That the Lord Chamberlain's office put together the funeral of Diana in about 8 days. I mean, it was the most massive affair, and they're so organized and they're so practiced at it. It went like clockwork. So I don't think this is even so much really as a big challenge.
We see a Mercedes truck arriving. Is that
this
Prince Harry?
Is this Prince Harry pulling up right now?
Well, we don't recognize that chap. Maybe that's security.
But here we go.
Oh,
he's got the beard. He's got the beard. Harry has arrived, and of course,
with his brother William, they've just arrived. Look at that.
Both in their military garb, looking
very dapper. Tell us about the uniform, Ingrid.
Dashing.
Ingrid, tell us about the uniform of Prince Harry.
I think that must be the uniform of the Royal Marines. He's just become Colonel-in-Chief of the Royal Marines, taking over from his grandfather, Prince Philip. And that is a very dashing uniform. And I think that's what it is.
And also, you know, Harry has done 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan. There was no chance that he was ever going to wear a morning suit. Even he
no
wanted,
chance?
No, he was always going to wear a uniform to make that statement that he is a military man. He's a soldier.
And Harry is a person who would have stayed longer in Afghanistan if he could have.
He wanted to.
He wanted to stay longer.
He did so much.
And he was there for, he served for 10 years, but it was reported, Kevin, you're right, he did not want to leave.
He didn't want to come back, and it was tragic for him when it was disrupted, because he saw himself as there to serve and there to be with his men as an officer.
You all have probably seen that iconic interview that Harry was doing with a reporter, and something broke out behind him, and he rips out the earpiece and goes running into the call for action.
Look how tall they are. They do look immensely princely.
Now, Prince William has a lot of hardware on his uniform, Ingrid.
He certainly does. Now, the wedding guests were told that they couldn't have swords and they weren't allowed to wear medals. But I think that William is going to make up for that.
Yes, he has got.
Well, no, he hasn't got any medals. He's got that wonderful gold braid.
And what about the bond between these two in this moment that shows how, no matter what, through thick and thin, these two have stuck together, Tina?
Yeah. Well, they
have such a great relationship,
They do have a great relationship, and they really sort of tease each other and razz each other up and call each other nicknames. And they're the only 2 people in the world that really know what it's like to be where they are.
And they're great foils to one another. I mean, William is the more stoic one, who's, I think, helped to ground Harry when he goes off the rails. And there's a sense of solace. These 2 brothers went through something absolutely tragic together.
Yes, they did.
Cemented them. They were at school at the same time. They share many of their friends. It's amazing how many friends they have in common.
You know, I thought it was interesting after little baby Louis was born very recently. I saw an interview with Harry, and he said, well, this means it's put you further away from the firm. He said, isn't that great? Isn't that great? He doesn't envy his brother on that, seemingly.
No, and William has really, I think one of the things that was so trying for Harry was that he was always playing third wheel after a time with William and Kate. He really wanted to settle down himself. And I think seeing William had produced this extraordinarily happy family also just kind of meant that he really felt that's what he wanted for himself.
So he is a member of the Blues and Royals, and you see he's greeting other soldiers because they play an important part in his life, but also in this ceremony. And before and afterwards, we will see the 2 regiments of military groups that played a big part in Harry's life and his service in the parade. So it's kind of cool that Harry has kept his military life involved in so many veterans, and of course running the Invictus Games and all the other charities.
I mean, he's really devoted so much of his life to the wounded warriors who with the Invictus Games, and that has been his big passion for the last few years. And I think that they really see him as one of theirs.
The church rises to his feet as Harry walks in the door.
With the Dean of Windsor here.
Well, he's going to be standing there for quite a while, 20 minutes, waiting for her to arrive.
They'll probably crack a few jokes, won't they, between each other?
But don't you remember, guys, when William and Kate were married, and Harry whispered to his brother when he first saw her, he said something like, she looks gorgeous or something.
She looks gorgeous, yes.
As she was walking down, because William hadn't turned around. I thought that was very nice.
Well, William has been through all this, so he can help to settle any nerves that Harry has.
And by the way, just some official stats here. The frock coat that he is wearing is made from blue doe skin. It is a single-breasted in style with a stand-up collar complete with figured braiding of regimental pattern. And it was cut and handmade. And the sleeve pattern is intricate in detail and took 1 person 1 week to complete. It's so dapper and beautiful and elegant.
Yeah, the Duke of Cambridge, that of course is William, also known as the best man, and the brother is wearing the same uniform, also to the rank of major. The wings are those attained flying helicopters while serving with the RAF. The 2 medals below from left to right are the Queen's Golden Jubilee and the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. The Duke of Cambridge, William, is also wearing the Garter Star.
And of course this chapel is where the Order of the Garter is administered. It's really known for that ceremony. The chapel is really used for the Order of the Garter.
We're looking at live pictures of Meghan Markle. There's a motorcycle. She's got a motorcade. There's a motorcycle in front. She has now arrived in the town of Windsor, making her way to the church. I have to say, guys, they are really sticking to time.
They always stick to time. There's no way that this is going to be 1 step out of time.
Oh, and they paused. Oh, there we go.
I think it was on a satellite.
A little satellite hitch.
The music is beautiful. We saw a harpist a while ago. There we go.
Can you imagine what Doria Ragland must be feeling sitting in this car?
I wonder
just got off the plane from California, and here she is.
Oh, I think she's so excited, though, and so happy for her daughter. And I'm told she likes Harry very much.
It's hard not to like her.
Yeah, it's very hard not to like. There's Serena Williams and her husband Alexis Ohanian. They just had a baby girl, as you know, also named Alexis. Olympia, they call her Olympia. Yeah, I guess you really can call this a star-studded ceremony.
It's a remarkable group of people. It's interesting. I mean, the women that Meghan is inviting are the women she truly admires, clearly. You know, these are women. Serena Williams, massively admirable woman.
Yes.
You know, Kamal Clooney, a human rights lawyer. These are women who are both
and Oprah's
fabulous
there too.
and smart. And Oprah, of course.
Yeah, she admires Oprah. Yeah.
Powerful, beautiful, but smart women who are changing the world.
Absolutely.
And I think that's important. It's
Those
it's
are the
another
ones she wants to be around.
Because remember, the biggest woman in this whole event, Queen Elizabeth, the longest reigning monarch, and someone who has held this thing together for so many years.
Yeah.
And this is coming through the streets of Windsor, and you see folks coming out of their house. A few have come out of their houses to look out and see Meghan Markle.
Ingrid, what are your thoughts as we're watching Meghan arrive to the chapel?
I think she must be incredibly nervous. I don't care how experienced she an actress she is. She must be very, very nervous. But again, having her mum by her side will, you know, keep her calm, and they can probably think about a lot of their sort of family memories together. And this is her greatest moment when she goes from one life into another.
You know, I think now, however big a celebrity you are, it is actually very impressive when you start to get to the, you know, the sort of royal grandeur up close, because it is it's such a kind of level of pedigree and history and layers of, you know, heraldry and all of these things. It makes it suddenly become a very important and sort of constitutional experience. It's not simply about being, this is a big celebrity wedding, I must look great. It's really about, I need to rise to this occasion. And I think as Ingrid rightly said, even Meghan, very poised, sophisticated actress, is going to find this quite daunting.
And I think it's so nice too, guys, that after all the drama about the wedding, about her dad, that really does seem to, no one is really dwelling on that. And Meghan herself released a statement yesterday making it very clear that that was done, that he would not be here. There was a lot of back and forth. And I think after all of that, everybody just wants her to have a brilliant, beautiful day, which so far it is shaping up to be.
Absolutely.
And we can hear in the background the chapel bells that are going off in the city of Windsor as we get closer to the arrival of a woman who will be known as the Duchess of Sussex after this wedding.
Or as Kevin said earlier, Tina, the Duchess of Success.
Yes, I think that's wonderful.
I know, I do like
She
it.
succeeded.
Yeah, she has definitely succeeded.
She really has.
That's
I mean, it must be strange for one's identity to suddenly have to think of oneself as the Duchess of Sussex. I mean, we do now see Kate as the Duchess of Cambridge, but it took a while.
It's because we kept calling her Kate and Kate Middleton, and it just takes a while to sink in. So she's going to be Meghan for a bit. And of course in America, I guess they'll call her Princess Meghan.
We still say Princess.
Yes, which is fine.
It'll be interesting to see how long before they make a trip to America. When they, you know, we know the royals have come to California before, especially Kate and Wills, and so it'll be interesting to see how long before Harry and Meghan make an official visit to both Canada and also the Americas.
I'm told they're not going on a honeymoon because they have some business that they have to take care of next week.
Yes, they're going to a garden party on Tuesday. The Prince of Wales is ordered to celebrate his charities for his 70th birthday. So unusually, they're going to be there. And then I think they just wanted to defer the attention. So they didn't get stalked by the press. So
Ingrid, you are so good, because that's exactly what I heard. They didn't want to take a honeymoon right away because they knew everyone would be following them. And they have this thing that's already been scheduled that's been in the schedule for a very long time. But to your point, Kevin, about America, wouldn't we love them to come honeymoon in America? We have some beautiful resorts. Tina, you said that won't happen.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But you know, they've been pretty good at keeping their privacy private. I mean, that whole pre-engagement time, they had a very private romance.
They had they had been dating for about 2 to 3 months before it was even released that they were officially dating. Here's a close-up photo now of Meghan in the car.
So, you know, maybe that
Can you get a better look of the tiara there?
We are hearing that perhaps that was
not the
loaned
Spencer
a tiara by the Queen.
I don't think.
Known as the Queen Mary's.
Queen Mary's tiara.
tiara. It's not as big and heavy as the Spencer tiara, so it's one of those ones that is sort of in the medium weight, and it did belong to Queen Mary, who was, of course, the wife of George V.
So how does this stack up, you guys, in terms of tiaras? The significance of this or the meaning of this? What does this mean?
It's a classic antique piece that belonged to the Queen's collection, and I was probably chosen by Meghan because of the way it fit and felt, you know, because you know, you don't want to be walking along with a big ton of metal on your head.
Was Princess Diana's tiara very heavy? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it was probably heavier than this and bigger than this. And as I said earlier, that Meghan will have been able to go and look at the Queen's enormous collection of tiaras and basically take anything that took her fancy. But like Kate, she doesn't want anything too big. I mean, I'm a little surprised she's not wearing
Ingrid, excuse us for a second. We're going to go to the long walk because the bride has arrived there. We have a reporter there, Roxana Saberi. Tell us what you see.
Well, Gail, we have seen a lot of people waiting here quietly and patiently for hours just for this glimpse that happened right now. As Meghan just rode by with her mother, they are now going up the long walk. People, thousands of people, are waving their flags and cheering and whistling as the car makes its way up 1 mile toward Windsor Castle. We talked to a lot of people from all over the world here today, Americans, a lot of locals, people who say that they just want to be part of this beautiful love story. They feel like it's a happy story when there are so many bad things going on. We also spoke to some students from Northwestern University. They are in that crowd, which you see right now on that screen. And they said one of them came here from Chicago this morning because she wanted to feel like she was part of Meghan's story. She feels like as a fellow woman of color, she can identify with Meghan, and she admires her sense of service. So a lot of excitement here. This is just the first glimpse we're getting of Meghan today, but she will be back again on a carriage ride with her then person who will be her husband, Prince Harry, taking this same route to greet the crowds again after the wedding ceremony. Gail?
Boy, Roxana Saberi, I have to tell you, I have goosebumps looking at this shot.
Don't you get chills?
I have physical goosebumps on my arm to see the shot of the long walk, all of the people waving their flags to cheer her on. What must that feel like to know so many people are sending you love and wishing you well on this day?
It's truly magical.
Beautiful.
It must be so emotional.
Yes.
Probably feeling quite tearful, and I bet she's got goosebumps on her arms as well.
Ingrid, I feel like crying. Oh my gosh. Okay, there's a very good shot of her mom and Meghan.
Look at her mother's face.
Look at the smile.
And she's such a glow on her face.
That's a very nice shot of the tiara too.
It's a beautiful shot. That is not the Spencer's tiara. No, that is the smaller one.
That is the Queen Mary tiara.
And going down that long walk, if you are experiencing it, if you haven't experienced it all your life, just walking down there, standing up when there's nobody there, it is spectacular. But to ride down there with thousands of people waving and cheering for you, that moment, and accepting you into the monarchy. Meanwhile, you wonder what are those two talking about right now?
I think Harry does look
teasing each other. Do you think they're teasing each other?
I think he looks quite nervous, actually.
You do?
Nervous. I think William is trying to keep him together there.
11 minutes and 26 seconds to go.
I mean, there's always that moment of tension when the bridegroom awaits the bride. You know, is the sort of. And he's got so many friends in the congregation. His army friends, his family friends.
No, but that shot, I want to go back and talk about that shot. Guys, can we show it? The Meghan and her mom arriving on the long walk. The long walk is a stunning piece of property, even when it's not surrounded with thousands of people waving flags.
That is one of the great cover shots of our time. That's a great cover shot.
There, yeah. That's going to be an iconic shot.
That is an iconic shot.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, you look at Doria Ragland, she can trace back just over 2 generations that there were people, her people, that lived in bondage in the United States, and now here she is.
Yeah, it's a fantastic statement of inclusion.
Thank you, John Peck. Look at this shot. Thank you, Randy, the director. I love this. Yes, Ingrid, talk about this shot for a second and what this means.
these two brothers together.
No, I'm talking about the motorcade coming into the long
I beg
walk.
your pardon.
That's okay.
I mean, I just think they must be so overwhelmed, so excited, and so happy because, as you said, you know,
it's 2.6 miles.
Yeah.
But also the pride, as you say, in this. And when you think that 80 years ago, a divorced an American, you know, the king had to abdicate to marry her. But now we have a situation where, you know, the biracial divorcee, the chosen love of Harry, is able to marry in the chapel at the very castle, which bears the name of the royal family, Windsor Castle. It's given away by the future king. I mean, the whole thing is such a turnaround. It boggles the mind.
And how much does that help that both these boys, Harry and Will, were allowed to marry for love, not the crown or duty?
Well, that is the gift, I think, of the Princess Diana. I mean, I think that, first of all, she made it clear to them they ought to and should marry the person they love. And secondly, the royal family did not want to have another debacle where one of their most beloved sons is, you know, ending up miserably unhappy, which is what happened to Prince Charles.
And at the end of the day, Prince Charles ended up marrying the woman he loved all along.
Absolutely.
Right,
Yes,
Ingrid?
He did, absolutely. But remember that the Queen's youngest son, Prince Edward, he married the woman he loved. He married a commoner. Everyone forgets that. Sophie Wessex.
Yes.
And we never hear anything about them, Ingrid. Why do you think that is?
She's another one, like, as Tina was saying, a bit like Princess Anne, that does a huge amount of wonderful charity work, but kind of gets forgotten.
Yeah.
And she's a gorgeous-looking lady. And the Queen she's like the person that's closest to the Queen.
I love the shot, as you pointed out.
The two brothers.
No, I love the two brothers, but I love the shot of Meghan and her mother.
I love that
tight shot
that
with the
picture
smile.
is radiant
I love this picture.
and says everything about why we should be pleased about this wedding.
And apparently the tiara is called the filigree tiara. And it is on loan from the Queen. And Meghan picked it, and it's the filigree tiara, and it did belong to Queen Mary.
We have an arrival now. Would this be Queen Elizabeth? Would this be...
She will be the last
Prince
to arrive.
Charles? She will be the last to arrive, so it won't be her.
Yeah, they all have to be in their places.
So it will be Prince Charles and Camilla, do we think? Yeah.
Could be Charles and
because
Camilla,
the Queen is the very last person to arrive.
I think that looks like Prince Charles's Bentley.
It looks like Prince Charles's what?
His Bentley.
Oh, his Bentley, okay.
Very chic, isn't it?
Very.
And I do want to mention out here, outside of Windsor Castle, the buzz about the crowd. The crowd is so excited. People are waving flags down the street. And people are just, this moment is now buzzworthy because this is something that they've waited for a long time. And there is Doria Ragland as she walks out of the car.
Yes. They told me she would not be walking out of the car with her daughter.
She looks stunning.
She would be brought in.
Stunning.
She will be brought into the chapel. And then the car will loop around and take Meghan, but that she would not get out of the car with her daughter. And they said you're going to be very surprised when she gets out of the car and how she enters the building. So I'm very curious to see exactly what that means.
Have they released the dress yet?
Have they released who?
The dress.
No, they have not. I still, neither one of you has been able to say why they were able to keep that a secret. This is Prince Charles and Camilla arriving.
But you know what they...
6 minutes and 48 seconds. Go ahead, Ingrid.
Sorry, Gail.
No,
what they do is, I mean, certainly in the old days, they used to black out all the windows of the couture house.
Yes.
And have people sort of on duty day and night to make sure no snoopers got in. But it's very hard in this age of social media to keep anything secret.
And that is remarkable. Well, this is
now, what about the reason that they put up the tent right there? Is that why the arch? Why did they add that? Is that something special, Ingrid or Tina? Is that something special?
Well, that is an awning that they nearly always have at the royal celebrations. So it's just an awning so that you can sort of walk in, supposing it was raining or something.
No,
this is a beautiful picture,
This is Charles and Camilla. And, you know, Camilla is now actually very popular, not with the sort of so much with the grassroots popularity, really deep grassroots, but she's beginning to really win the British people over because she's very...
It almost makes you emotional looking at her right now and looking at how she is looking at that
the Queen. She's wearing green and purple today. And Prince Philip. This is quite a good thing that Prince Philip is here. He's recently recovering from hip surgery, and there was some question as to whether he would be able to attend the ceremony today.
I mean, he's 96 and he is so stalwart. It's absolutely amazing. Just had this hip operation, as you say. I think he really wanted to be here as well to show his support. He loves Harry. He used to have tea with Harry when Harry was at Eton, which is, of course, in Windsor.
Just the two of them would have tea?
He would come over and see his grandparents, as did William. They're very close to Prince Philip. I mean, he's very much a grandfather who's been involved and very supportive of the boys, particularly after Diana's death.
And Prince Philip always says that, people say to him, how do you manage, sir? You know, you're 96. He said, sheer brute force and bloody-mindedness.
I've heard, Ingrid, that they call him the Iron Duke.
They do sometimes.
They call him the Iron Duke.
You know, Harry has some of his blunt sort of way with words, too. I mean, you know, Prince Philip is always great for an epigram.
Yes, we've heard that he's very candid.
He's very
and
candid.
can be brutally honest.
Yeah.
Here's the Queen arriving. She's about to step out of the car.
You know, Prince Philip once said, you know, royals can marry chorus girls and sometimes even Americans.
Prince Philip looks good. He looks good, considering.
And he's moving well.
He's just had surgery and he's walking on his own.
Yeah, I don't see him with a stick. She's a beautiful woman. Doria is a beautiful woman.
Yes,
that lovely face.
And Harry's obviously worried that she looks so emotional here.
Now the two of them looking together.
And,
4 minutes and 9 seconds. He does look a little nervous.
And you can see Doria clearly emotional
very
right
emotional,
now.
Very emotional.
And she's sitting alone, too.
Yes.
I wish there was somebody there. Here's Meghan Markle arriving.
Well, here are the attendants, aren't they? The little attendants.
So here come the bridesmaids and page boys, and it'll be fun to see them as they come out of the car and how they will react to the crowd.
Yeah, there's 10 kids under the age of 11. Under 11. So they're saying that the dress is Erdem. Wow.
It is Erdem.
You said that maybe, Tina.
Yeah, I thought it was Erdem, and then they were throwing out the British designer.
Wow.
That's a big coup for him.
Tell us about why that's a coup.
Well, I mean, Erdem is...
He was educated in Toronto, studied fashion in London.
And he's Turkish, but educated in Toronto, yes, and has been in London. He's very much the hipster choice.
A hipster choice?
Yeah, the hipster cool designer of the moment, actually.
There's the Queen, who's entered the chapel.
What does it mean if you design the royal dress? What will that mean for your business?
It means a great deal of bangs on your buck. I mean, it means that he's now stratospheric. Everybody knows his name. And
he will go down in the annals of history as being the designer of the Meghan Markle's royal wedding dress.
You know, the first line in his obituary.
Guys, let's pause for a second. That was interesting. The Queen walked in and just goes to her seat. There's no acknowledgement or a conversation with Harry and William. She just walks in and sits down.
Well, Harry and William are further down.
Oh, it looked like she walked right past them, no?
And Doria looks almost in a daze. I mean, she looks...
I would like to see who's sitting next to Doria.
And you have to remember, the royal family's used to this.
Yes.
Doria, this is her first time at a royal wedding. Look at
here are the page boys and the bridesmaids. Is that Kate who just got out of the car?
So,
Erdem, who's dressed. Go ahead.
And we do know that Meghan was loaned that tiara by the Queen, and it is known as the filigree tiara.
Yeah, belonged to Queen Mary.
What is that?
Now that looks like the littlest bridesmaid. She looks like, I think, she's Zali Warren, and she's only 2. And that's her mother Zoe, who's a yoga teacher, leading her up the steps.
There's Kate.
Kate always looks so
I was told at the rehearsal with the children that Kate was very helpful, that she was there and she was sort of giving them all instructions and helping them, explaining what they need to do and how they need to do it. They said that she was a big help. Well, she has lots of experience in doing so now, doesn't she, with 3 little ones?
You see little Princess Charlotte there giving a wave. She's already well trained.
And by the way, the Mulrooney children clearly are well trained, that they kept the secret that Meghan and Harry were hiding out at their house, even though they still had to go to school every day. And they
well, Mulrooney, of course, is the son of the Prime Minister of Canada, so they're all very well trained.
With less than 1 minute to go, Meghan Markle is pulling up to the front, right on time, so to St. George's Chapel.
It'll electrify the fashion world.
Now pick up the boys.
Now we will finally get to see when she walks out of the car. Her best friend's twins are with her. They told me that it would be a surprise.
Then it must be
that you'll be surprised to see how she enters the church.
So she's going to enter the church?
Well, because I asked yesterday if she doesn't have a bridesmaid, who is going to help her with her train?
So it's
and they said it could be someone unexpected and young.
Yes.
So far, the information they've given is really right on point. It's great.
Most of the leads have been sort of red herrings, however, up to now.
Yes, they have.
They've kept it very quiet.
Okay, 12 o'clock.
And Corden was hiding
the little boys.
Yeah.
What a moment that must be for them.
Finally, we'll get to see the dress.
This is the moment.
How old are the twins?
Here she comes.
They're 7 years old. Just
7
years old, yes.
These are the Mulroney's little boys, 7 years old.
They're Jasper and Brian.
We've lost the feed.
We lost it. There it goes.
There it goes.
There we go.
You can hear the crowd go,
oh!
And there's the dress.
Very
and who
sleek.
said? Someone had said it would be sleek.
Very sleek.
And is it 2 pieces or 1?
Megan has said that the bride she most admired the dress of was Caroline Bissett, the bride
Caroline
of JFK.
Bissett.
Yes, the bride of JFK.
Narciso Rodriguez.
Narciso Rodriguez.
Yes.
It was a thin column. It was extremely sleek, and that's what we're seeing with this dress too.
And those little boys have got a real starring role there, haven't they?
Yes, they will.
This is the tough part, having to walk up those stairs.
Oh, look at how they're grinning, the boys.
And they're in mini dress uniforms, the blues and royals, I think.
So, how long is that train?
We're told the dress is designed by Claire Waith Keller. Does that name mean anything to you?
No, heard him.
Givenchy.
So are you telling us now it's not an heirloom dress?
Well, Tina's right then. Tina's absolutely right.
Are you saying it is not an heirloom dress?
She's a British designer, and she became the first female artistic director at the historic French fashion house of Givenchy.
So she still has British ties, but even though she works at Givenchy.
So the designer is Claire Waith Keller. Of Givenchy. Okay.
Wow.
All right,
there
Megan.
she is. Oh, look at that.
That is an amazing shot.
Look at the little boys.
The glimmer behind the veil.
Okay, we are going to take a break and go right to the ceremony.